Chapter 620. Ao Jiao flew out of the lunar shadow saber and looked at the Taiji Yinyang flame diagram in front of Xiao Chun. She said interestedly, I am now as strong as a peak martial monarch. How much of my strength are you going to use? Xiao Chun muttered, use half first. A peak martial monarch. That kind of person had refined their quintessence to the limit. Xiao Chun could not underestimate them, nor did he dare to be careless. Right after Xiao Chun spoke, Ao Jiao charged over. Her petite figure flickered in the air and punched the Taiji Yinyang flame diagram. Bang! The Taiji Yinyang flame diagram gave off a bright light. Shock waves surged out, kicking up a strong wind in all directions. Amid the light, Ao Jiao somersaulted 3 times in the air before she managed to dissipate the force of the rebound. When Xiao Chun saw the Taiji Yinyang flame diagram glowing brightly with the 8 trigrams and 4 divisions, a look of astonishment flashed in her eyes. Her playful attitude from earlier diminished significantly. Xiao Chun felt somewhat dizzy. After enduring half of Ao Jiao's strength, only half of the mental energy in his sea of consciousness remained. Use your full power, Xiao Chun said with a grave expression as he clenched his teeth. Ao Jiao nodded, and her aura soared for some reason. She was clearly petite and cute, but she gave off a vast and majestic aura. This time, Xiao Chun's eyes did not capture Ao Jiao's figure. Her attack landed on the Taiji Yinyang flame diagram. Boom! The Taiji Yinyang flame diagram exploded with light. The 8 trigrams and 4 divisions shattered one after another. Blood leaked out of the corner of Xiao Chun's mouth. The shockwave from the fist force knocked him back 8 steps before he could stabilize himself. Xiao Chun's chi and blood surged, and his internal organs trembled. However, he revealed a joyful smile. I succeeded. Peak martial monarch, only half a step away from martial sage. This was the cultivation of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Shun Manjun. A newly advanced martial monarch was able to block the full power strike of a peak martial monarch and suffer only minor injuries. No one would believe this. Ao Jiao, who was in the air, had an unsightly expression. The instant the Taiji Yinyang flame diagram exploded, the force of the rebound was doubled, which was equivalent to her taking on twice the force of the punch alone. Xiao Chun hurried over and asked, Are you all right? Ao Jiao regulated her breathing for a while and smiled. She said, It's fine. If you had endured an attack twice as strong, you would have died for sure. The endurance of a peak martial monarch is greater than you think. So, if you meet a peak martial monarch, even if the other party is severely injured, do not let your guard down. The Taiji Yinyang flame diagram could attack and defend, advance and retreat. Xiao Chun finally had a trump card that belonged to him. It did not originate from the Blue Dragon martial technique, nor did it originate from the Bai clan's 4 seasons saber technique, nor did it originate from the various secret techniques of the Battle Sage origins. In the 3,000 Great Realms, only Xiao Chun knew the Taiji Yinyang flame diagram. In the future, if he could collect both the Silver Titanium Flame and the Sun Flame, this move would definitely become famous in the Kunlun realm. After resting on the small island for a few more days, Xiao Chun started his journey back to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. On the way here, he still needed to use the Scarlet Throne. On the way back, Xiao Chun directly used Quintessence to travel. His speed was even faster than the Scarlet Throne. However, it exhausted Quintessence. The Scarlet Throne did not exhaust much, so it could be used in many situations. 5 days later, the undulating Lingyun mountain range appeared in Xiao Chun's vision. The moment Xiao Chun landed at the foot of the mountain, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples on guard immediately recognized him. Senior brother Xiao Chun, you finally returned. The first elder is looking for you everywhere. 2 disciples said respectfully when they saw Xiao Chun. By now, Xiao Chun was already a legendary figure in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. As word of mouth spread, he became someone who surpassed the Thunder King. Previously, Xiao Chun wanted to explain himself. However, the more he said it, the more ridiculous it became. He could only smile bitterly and accept it helplessly. Why is the first elder looking for me? Under normal circumstances, the first elder would not be in such a rush to look for him. The 2 disciples shook their heads and said, I'm not sure. Go directly to the main hall of the heaven viewing platform. I heard that an incredible person is coming. Xiao Chen nodded gently. He no longer hesitated and flew to the heaven viewing platform. Xiao Chen stood on a blue dragon image and moved up and down in the air. Then he disappeared from the eyes of the two disciples on guard. As the two disciples watched Xiao Chen leave, an envious look flashed in their eyes. Senior brother Xiao Chen is becoming more and more powerful. I feel like his aura is no different from those supreme elders. There is nothing to be envious about. When we cultivate in the heavenly saber pavilion, senior brother Xiao Chen's king's luck will more or less be affected. In the future, while we might not reach senior brother's level, there is no doubt that we will surpass the others. That's right. King Grade True Dragon luck. Right now there are many people fighting to enter our heavenly saber pavilion. After a few breaths, Xiao Chen landed outside the main hall and walked in. When he looked around, Xiao Chen discovered that something was wrong with the atmosphere in the main hall. All the supreme elders who were martial monarchs of the heavenly saber pavilion were gathered here. Shen Manjun, who normally did not care about worldly matters, was also seated on a wooden chair. Everyone had a cautious expression on their faces. They all focused their gazes on a middle-aged man in purple robes in the main hall. That purple-robed man's aura was unfathomable. His aura was even stronger than Shen Manjuan's. He was a martial sage expert. Xiao Chen, you are back. When Jiang Qi saw Xiao Chen, he quickly stood up to welcome him. He could feel Xiao Chen's aura. When he felt Xiao Chen's aura, Jiang Qi revealed an extremely joyful smile. The other supreme elders all revealed faint smiles as well. However, there was still worry lingering on their faces. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "First elder, why are you in such a rush to find me?" Jiang Qi looked carefully at the purple-robed man and said, "That is the great Jin Nation Sima clan's clan head, Sima Hong. He has brought a challenge letter, challenging you on behalf of Sima Lingxian." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "I will accept the challenge letter. Just come." Sima Hong stood up and looked at Xiao Chen. An oppressive aura pressed down on him like a mountain. He smiled faintly and said, "Not only do you have to accept this challenge letter, but I also want you to lose to Lingxian. Remember, you must lose. Otherwise, the heavenly saber pavilion will be destroyed because of your decision, suffering the rage of a martial sage." The aura of a martial sage pressed down on Xiao Chen. It was like a mountain pressing down on his back, forcing him to bend his back and lower his head. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth and remained silent. He stored up the aura of a king-grade true dragon genius to resist the aura of a martial sage. Spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the floor under Xiao Chen's feet and spread out in all directions. Bang, bang, bang. The martial sage had already misunderstood the power of the world. The pressure of his aura was already a formless attack. The floor of the hall cracked with a rumble. Broken rocks soared into the air and crashed into the ceiling. A surging shockwave spread out. Aside from Shen Manjun, all the martial monarch supreme elders of the heavenly saber pavilion were forced back a few steps. "Don't yield, don't bend." Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. He refused to bend his back as he stared at Sima Hong. At this moment, the satisfaction he felt from advancing to martial monarch vanished. It turned out that a so-called martial monarch was so weak before a martial sage. Even though the other party was just an inferior grade martial sage, just his aura alone was not something Xiao Chen could resist. "Xiao Chen, you absolutely cannot agree to this old thing. He is so shameless. Your king-grade true dragon luck will vanish if you lose to someone of the same generation. It will become an ordinary true dragon luck." Ao Jiao, who was in the lunar shadow saber, said angrily, "At worst, I will fight it out with him. He is just an inferior grade martial sage. Don't be rash. I have a way to deal with him," Xiao Chen said calmly to himself as he stopped Ao Jiao. "Not bad. Under my pressure, you can still last for a long time." Sima Hong laughed loudly and withdrew his aura. "You better think it through. Do you agree or not?" The strength that Sima Hong displayed horrified the surrounding elders of the heavenly saber pavilion. Even if all the martial monarchs in the hall worked together, they would not be a match for him. It would even be difficult for them to injure him. The pressure on Xiao Chen lessened significantly. However, he did not relax. he said sullenly. I will accept the challenge. However, I cannot lose without fighting. Sima Hong smiled coldly and tossed out a spatial ring. He said, Sima Lingxian will be here 10 days from now. There are 10,000 superior grade spirit stones in here. I will not let you lose for nothing. It is just a show. Not only will you not suffer any losses, but you will also gain a large sum of superior grade spirit stones for nothing. I believe you will change your mind. After saying that, Sima Hong laughed and strode out of the palace with his head held high. Shen Manjun walked over and said, Xiaochen, don't worry. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion will not make things difficult for you. One martial sage is not enough to scare us. Currently, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion did not have any martial sages. If Xiaochen really offended Sima Hong, he would not be exaggerating. Actually, Shen Manjun was not very confident in her words. Xiaochen wiped away the blood on his lips and said softly, Senior, there is no need to say that. Xiaochen is in Qingyan Peak. Naturally, I will not sit back and watch as the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is threatened. I will write a letter to the Haotian sect. And at most 7 days, they will definitely send out a martial sage to hold the fort. At that time, this Sima Hong will not be able to do anything. Because the noble clans had produced martial emperors before, the quality of their bloodline geniuses was higher than that of the 10 great sections. However, in terms of overall strength, they could not compare to the 10 great sections. Furthermore, the Haotian sect had an even stronger main sect in the Kunlun realm. With the Haotian sect supporting them, the Sima clan would not dare to act recklessly. When the other supreme elders in the hall heard what Xiaochen said, they all heaved a sigh of relief. The worry on their faces disappeared. When Xiaochen saw this, he did not say anything. Sima Hong's strength was clear for all to see. It would be too much to ask them to help him. The strong reigned supreme. Since ancient times, this had been the only rule in the Tianwu continent. Xiaochen was already very satisfied that these supreme elders did not make things difficult for him under Sima Hong's pressure. Qingyan Peak, Lu Ruyue's courtyard. Smoke spread everywhere. Xiaochen and Lu Ruyue sat at a tea table, drinking tea and chatting. As the peak master of Qingyan Peak, Lu Ruyue already knew everything that happened in the hall. Worry appeared on her face. Chapter 621. When Xiaochen saw the situation, he smiled faintly and grabbed the other party's hand. He said, Don't worry. Sima Lingxian is definitely not a match for me now. The martial sages of the Haotian sect should arrive in 7 days. That's right. Xiaochen thought of something and took out 10 inferior grade spirit gathering pearls from the universe ring. He handed them to Lu Ruyue and said, You are now a half-step martial monarch. When you break through to martial monarch, you can use these spirit-gathering pearls. When Lu Ruyue saw Xiaochen's strong confidence in his words, she did not say anything more. As for the spirit-gathering pearls, she did not take them. Lu Ruyue revealed a smile on her charming face. She said, There's no need. It will not be difficult for me to break through to martial monarch. It is just a matter of time. The spirit-gathering pearls will probably be precious even in the Kunlun realm. You should keep them. When Xiaochen mentioned the Kunlun realm, Xiaochen revealed a sad expression. He had to go to the Kunlun realm. However, once he went, if he could not become Emperor Wu, it would be very difficult for him to return. After parting like this, he did not know how many years it would be before he could see Lu Ruyue again. Lu Ruyue was in her prime. She was very pretty and in the prime of her youth. This was the best time of a girl's life. She placed all her love on him, whom she might never see again. The bitterness was hard to describe with words. Lu Ruyue could tell what Xiaochen was thinking. She smiled sweetly, like 100 flowers blooming. She gently grasped Xiaochen's right hand and said softly, Don't overthink for me. When I first saw you many years ago, I knew that this insignificant Qingyan Peak would not be able to hold you back. You're lying dormant here just to fly higher. To me, the further you can go, the happier I'll be. Just don't forget about Qingyan Peak. There is Lu Ruyue waiting for you. A tender feeling appeared in Xiaochen's heart. He enunciated every word clearly. I will never forget in this life. I will definitely become a martial emperor in the Kunlun realm and return. The two of them stared at each other, speechless. In the remaining days, Xiaochen did not immediately enter bitter cultivation. Sima Lingxian was no match for him. If they fought again now, even if the other party had reached the martial monarch realm, he would only be humiliating himself. He was collecting some ingredients for alchemy. In the compendium of cultivation, there was an alchemy recipe called the beauty-retaining pill. It could ensure that a woman's appearance would not change for 1,000 years. The ingredients required for the pill recipe were extremely complicated. Xiaochen planned to use the remaining half a year to refine this pill and give it to Lu Ruyue. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed. On this day, as Xiaochen was taking inventory of the countenance-halting pill ingredients, he suddenly felt a strong aura flying towards the heavenly saber pavilion without any fear. "Xiaochen, come out and fight!" A loud shout resounded, spreading throughout the entire Lingyun mountain range. It startled all the disciples in the heavenly saber pavilion. Due to the other party's intentional support, sound waves spread out. The sound traveled further and further. All the cultivators within a radius of 250 kilometers heard this shout. Who was Xiaochen? He was the champion of this 5-nation youth competition, someone who stood at the top of the younger generation. He was a king-grade true dragon genius. Unexpectedly, someone took the initiative to challenge him at this moment. All sorts of busybodies immediately became interested. Many figures flew towards the heavenly saber pavilion. When the elders of the heavenly saber pavilion heard Sima Hong's voice, their expressions turned unsightly. The martial sages of the Haotian sect would arrive tomorrow at the earliest. Who would have thought that Sima Hong would arrive at the heavenly saber pavilion 5 days in advance? He was not mentally prepared at all. Bang, bang, bang. Sima Hong casually broke the restrictions in front of the gates. He brought the finely dressed Sima Lingxian and arrived before the heaven-viewing platform in the blink of an eye. Xiaochen put away the ingredients and leaped out of the window. He stood on a blue dragon image and arrived a kilometer in front of the two. Xiaochen looked forward. Indeed, Sima Lingxian had already advanced to martial monarch. His aura was as strong as a peak inferior grade martial monarch's. "Xiaochen, there is no need for me to tell you what to do, right? If you do not lose, the heavenly saber pavilion will be destroyed because of you," Sima Hong said coldly to Xiaochen using his voice. Xiaochen ignored him. He looked at Sima Lingxian and said, "There are many people here. Come with me to the heaven ascending platform to fight." Sima Hong looked at Xiaochen's departing figure and smiled coldly to himself. "I hope you are more tactful. After destroying the luck of my Sima clan for 500 years, I do not mind taking the heavenly saber pavilion down with me." "Father, I'm going," Sima Lingxian said to Sima Hong after taking a deep breath. Recollecting his thoughts, Sima Hong smiled faintly and said, "Go in peace. You have already advanced to martial monarch. The accumulations of a martial king will allow you to burst out with 10-fold combat prowess. You will definitely win this battle and reclaim the king-grade true dragon's luck. Then, you will enter the Kunlun realm in your most perfect state. The Sima clan will not fall because of you." Sima Lingxuan's eyes flickered with heavy confidence. He nodded gravely and said, "Wait for my good news." Sima Lingxuan's figure flickered continuously in the air as he chased after Xiaochen. Eventually, he arrived at the huge drill grounds of the heaven ascending platform. Xiao, Xiao. The two landed on the drill grounds, one in front and one behind. Then they each stood in a corner, facing the wind. The taller buildings of the heaven ascending platform were already filled with heavenly saber pavilion disciples. They had never seen Xiaochen make a move before. They also did not know that Sima Hong had pressured Xiaochen. Their gazes were filled with excitement. They were filled with anticipation for Xiaochen to display his might and defeat the great Jin nation's genius swordsman once again. "Senior brother Xiaochen, do your best." His father was rude. Teach his son a lesson and beat him up until he scrammed back. "Right, that's right, scrammed back. Scrammed back. Scrammed back." Instantly, the entire mountain was filled with chants of "scrammed back." The voices merged together, causing the air to tremble. As of now, Xiaochen was like the sun in the sky in the heavenly saber pavilion. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was the idol of all the disciples. However, the moment that Sima Hong arrived, he chased Xiao Chen out. There was no lack of hot-blooded youths among the mountain disciples. Who cared if you were a martial sage or not? This was the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the Great Qin Nation's Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This was Xiao Chen's home ground. If they did not help Xiao Chen regain his dignity, who would? Sima Lingxuan's expression turned sullen. Even though he was only ranked 3rd on the True Dragon ranking, no one in the Great Qin Nation dared to speak to him like that. He had never suffered such humiliation before. Boom. After Sima Lingxian advanced to martial monarch, his strong aura erupted together with the rage in his heart. A strong wind blew, and the clouds churned. The sword in Sima Lingxuan's hand hummed and infused with quintessence. He pointed it at Xiao Chen, and the sword qi made of quintessence shot out, tearing thin cracks in the air. Before Sima Lingxian made a move, he had already displayed his strength. When some of the supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion saw this, they felt fear in their hearts. Just based on the strength that Sima Lingxian had displayed, some of the inferior grade martial monarchs among them would not be a match for him. Some of the medial grade martial monarchs would not have more than a 60% chance of defeating him. No one had seen Xiao Chen make a move after he advanced to martial monarch. They could not help but feel worried for Xiao Chen. Sima Lingxian said in a cold voice, "Xiao Chen, the accumulation of my cultivation as a martial king is beyond your imagination. Back then, you defeated me in 10 moves. Today, I only need 1 move to defeat you." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said unconcernedly, "You are wrong about one thing. It is not that you force me to defeat you in 10 moves. Rather, it is that I am willing to defeat you in 10 moves. If I really wanted to defeat you, why would I need 10 moves? Let's see what ability you have to boast. The mandate of heaven is with me, the ruler of the world, the sword of kings." Sima Lingxian soared into the air. Winds blew behind him, and the sky changed color. It materialized a scene of all living things killing each other, 100 armies fighting, and a chaotic war between dynasties. Sima Lingxian was the one who would end this chaotic world. He had come with the mandate of heaven, using the sword of kings to command the world. He used the power of a dynasty to transform the state on his sword to resist Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen felt excited. No wonder Sima Lingxian was so confident this time. His state of kingship had improved by another level. Not only did it not stop because of his previous defeat, but it even improved further. However, this was still not enough. A dynasty would eventually fall. A true king would not use the power of a dynasty to fight an enemy. This was because he himself was an unrivaled king. There was no need for external help. If it were any other time, Xiao Chen would be interested in exchanging 100 moves with Sima Lingxian. After all, Sima Lingxian had his own unique side. If Xiao Chen fought with Sima Lingxian, he would definitely gain something. However, it was different now. There was an even more horrifying Sima Hong standing behind Sima Lingxian. As for losing without a fight, Xiao Chen had never thought about it. How could a king-grade true dragon lower its head and bend over in fear? If Sima Hong wanted to bury the Heavenly Saber Pavilion with him, then even if Xiao Chen had to risk his life, he would make Sima Lingxian suffer a few layers of skin. He would let Sima Lingxian know what regret was. After Xiao Chen made up his mind, 2 resplendent star-like flames, 1 purple and 1 white, flashed in his eyes. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. The purple lightning origin flame and the lunar origin flame flew out and turned into 2 yuinin chasing each other in the air. The mental energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness drained continuously. Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. When the Taiji diagram formed, Xiao Chen shouted ferociously and pushed his right hand forward. The Yin and Yang flames formed a beautiful Taiji diagram. They intertwined and merged, turning into an unparalleled energy of primal chaos. Who cares about the mandate of heaven, materializing the power of the dynasty, or the everlasting Yin and Yang? I will break it with force. The Yin and Yang flames actually merged. How did he think of this? How did he do it? Jiang Qi and the other elders exclaimed in shock. What exactly is that diagram? How come I have never seen it before? Unexpectedly, the 2 extreme energies of Yin and Yang can merge in such a strange manner. The people of the Tianwu continent had never seen the Taiji diagram before. This was an eye-opener for Shen Manjun and the others, finding it incredible. Bang! 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 The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram moved very quickly. It used absolute force to break the quintessence mysterious phenomenon of Sima Lingxuan's sword strike. The new dynasty formed by the state of kingship behind Sima Lingxian fell back into the flames of war. Miserable cries resounded everywhere as the state of kingship completely crumbled. Pussy-eye. The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram crashed into Sima Lingxuan's body, and a surging energy erupted. Sima Lingxian vomited a large mouthful of blood as his body flew back uncontrollably. The energy far surpassed everyone's expectations. When it exploded, shock waves surged and clouds appeared. The horrifying energy knocked Sima Lingxian off the heaven-ascending platform. Chapter 622. Sima Lingxian tumbled down the slope. His entire body was pierced by the strange rocks and shrubs. It was a tragic sight. Sima Lingxuan's internal injuries were worse than his external injuries. The purple thunder true fire and the lunar true flame burned his internal organs. The quintessence from his dantian could not protect his internal organs at all, when the two flames spewed out. When the Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples on the various buildings on the heaven-ascending platform saw this scene, they could not react. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. What was more, they did not expect the casual words they shouted at the start to turn into reality. Sima Lingxian really rolled back in a sorry state. He won. Senior brother Xiaochen really won. He used only one move to send Sima Lingxian rolling back. How powerful! I did not dare to imagine it. Ha ha ha. Serves them right. How delightful. Let's see if they still dare to show off their might in our Heavenly Saber Pavilion. After a long time, the crowd erupted in thunderous cheers, resounding endlessly. Their gazes toward Xiaochen became even more respectful. Such an outstanding talent was a disciple of their Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This made them feel a sense of pride that was hard to swallow. In the future, when they went out, they could say that Xiaochen was their senior brother, and that they had personally seen him fight. The disciples of the other sects in the great Qin nation would probably die of envy. Xiaochen, you actually dared to make a move. No words could describe the rage in Sima Hong's heart. He had not expected Xiaochen to really dare to defeat Sima Lingxian in front of him. Furthermore, Xiaochen had defeated Sima Lingxian in one move. Even when Sima Hong wanted to save Sima Lingxian, he discovered that there was no chance. Sima Hong was a bona fide martial sage, one of the people at the top of the pyramid of the Tianwu continent. To him, Xiaochen was like an ant. He could crush him easily. However, today he was slapped in the face by this ant. Furthermore, it was such a heavy slap. Unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. If he did not kill Xiaochen, he would not be able to vent his anger. A sword appeared in Sima Hong's hand. It flashed in the air as though he teleported. Then, he sent a quintessence sword chi containing the power of the world at Xiaochen. It's over. Sima Hong actually disregarded his status, and made a move against a junior. All the elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion paled. They thought to themselves in a panic, how could Xiaochen, an inferior grade martial cultivator, survive the sword strike of the martial sage? The sword energy that Sima Hong released looked ordinary, and without any fancy moves. Even a medial grade martial monarch could casually send out a sword chi that could pierce space and shine with sharpness. However, this strand of sword chi, the sword chi of a martial sage, did not pierce through space. Not even a tiny crack appeared in space, giving off an inconceivable feeling. The sword chi was long and narrow, dazzling. It seemed to glide along a unique trajectory between heaven and earth. As it approached, the light on the sword chi became more and more condensed. With the support of the power of the world, the sword light was traceless. The might of the sword chi increased with every passing second. Xiaochen's expression turned grave. He did not dare to be slow. He quickly raised his left hand, and the lunar yin-yang flame diagram on the ground appeared in front of him with a xiao sound. A vast and surging mental energy poured into the Taiji diagram in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness. The beautiful Taiji diagram instantly gave off a dazzling golden light. The 8 trigrams, yin-yang, and 4 divisions appeared as the Taiji diagram circulated. When Xiao Chen stood on the ground, he seemed to be one with the world. Bang! The sword chi that Sima Hong sent out in rage crashed into the Taiji diagram. The yin-yang flame diagram instantly exploded, and a horrifying energy spread out. The huge drill ground was blasted into pieces in an instant. Countless rocks and boulders flew up from the sky, stirring up a cloud of dust that was blown away by the wind. A strand of sword chi shot out from the dust cloud at an even faster speed at the chasing Sima Hong. Dang! Sima Hong's expression changed slightly. He held his sword horizontally and blocked with his quintessence. Bang! There was another sound that was even more horrifying than the previous one. The dust cloud spread out again, and a vast, deep pit appeared on the ground. It extended at a visible rate. All the other buildings on the heaven ascending platform collapsed. Using this strand of sword chi as a shield, Xiao Chen's figure flickered. He stood on the blue dragon image and soared into the air. His complexion was pale, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. Xiao Chen's complexion did not look very good. Only his eyes were filled with vigor, not showing any signs of fatigue. The instant the sword chi containing the power of the world shattered the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram, the shockwave struck Xiao Chen's body, instantly shattering the quintessence in his body. The sword chi was unblockable. It was of a much higher grade than Xiao Chen's quintessence. Just the shockwave inflicted severe damage to his internal organs. If not for Xiao Chen's strong physical body, this shockwave would have severed all the meridians and shattered all the internal organs of a regular cultivator, killing them on the spot. He is not dead. When the supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion saw Xiao Chen leaping out of the dust cloud, they all revealed expressions of pleasant surprise. Martial sages had already comprehended the power of the world. Although it was not much, as long as a trace of the power of the world was infused into their quintessence, its might would increase by several times. Unexpectedly, with Xiao Chen's cultivation realm, he was able to receive this sword strike. Furthermore, it seemed like he could still fight, and was not at the brink of death. Shen Manjuan's expression sank. Xiao Chen cannot fall here. The luck of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is already linked to his. If he dies, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will be destroyed. Jiangqi, I order you to immediately gather the Divine Saber Camp, and use the full strength of the sect to fight against Sima Hong. We cannot let Xiao Chen die here. Jiangqi did not hesitate and said, Disciple obeys. After Shen Manjun spoke to Jiangqi, she soared into the sky and flew away. She had a sullen expression as she shielded Xiao Chen. All the quintessence in her body surged wildly. Sima Hong, how old are you? Do you not care about your status at all? Unexpectedly, you made a move against a junior, Shen Manjun said expressionlessly. Sima Hong let out a long whistle, and a strong wind blew in all directions, dispersing the dust and revealing the dilapidated drill ground. Sima Hong stared at Shen Manjun and said coldly, Scram. I hate people who do not want face when I give them face. I already said it 6 days ago. As long as he loses to Ling Xian, everything will be fine. Today, this brat does not know what is good for him. Don't blame me for being merciless. There were already many cultivators in the surroundings of the heaven ascending platform. When they heard this, their expressions changed. Sima Hong actually ignored his status and threatened Xiao Chen to admit defeat. This was too shameless. Shen Manjun said sullenly, Have you thought of the consequences of killing someone in my Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Sima Hong laughed loudly and said, What is the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Do you think you are one of the 10 great sects? I really do not care about you. Since you are not leaving, I will kill you first. Huqi. Huqi. A sword light surged and 2 strands of sword chi intersected, forming a cross-shaped sword light as it flashed toward Shen Manjun. A slender saber appeared in Shen Manjuan's hand. She brought out her 300 years of cultivation at full power. The saber light tore space apart. The cross-shaped sword light carried the might of heaven as it surged over. It broke all the saber techniques Shen Manjun executed, forcing her back 100 steps. Shen Manjun breathed out slightly. In the end, she managed to block the sword light of a martial sage. You are like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Sima Hong snorted coldly and appeared before Shen Manjun, who had just blocked the sword light. He brandished his sword and a chain of sword techniques spread out. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of sabers and swords clashing resounded in the air. With every step Sima Hong took, heaven and earth seemed to take a step forward. That boundless aura was not something Shen Manjun could block, no matter how high her cultivation was. Every time Shen Manjun blocked a sword strike, she vomited a mouthful of blood. Her complexion paled even more. Scram! After 9 sword strikes, Sima Hong shouted ferociously. His sword gave off a bright light, and its might increased. The sword light shot out and knocked Shen Manjun back. Shen Manjun's figure shot back like an arrow. She could not retaliate at all as she crashed into a mountain peak. The peak exploded and rocks fell. When Xiaochen saw Shen Manjun's death, his eyes turned completely cold. He rushed forward and hacked down with his saber. Blue Dragon goes to sea. 99 pillars of water shot out from the vast sea behind Sima Hong. The blue dragon leaped out of the water, and a 3-kilometer-long saber light flickered as it tore through the air and hacked down. Sima Hong's expression was somewhat surprised. He had not expected Xiaochen to not flee and even dare to attack him. When the saber light arrived before him, he had no choice but to execute a screen of swords to block it. Wang, wang. Sword chi hummed, and the power of the world surged out continuously. They intertwined and formed an indestructible screen of light. It contained the might of the world, and seemed eternal and inextinguishable. Battle Sage Origins, Strength Character Formula, 33 times Combat Prowess. Xiaochen roared wildly. He did not care about the consequences and exhausted all the quintessence in his body in that instant. The moment the might of the saber light approached Sima Hong, its might soared until it reached a frightening level. Bang! The screen of swords containing the might of the world, and eternally inextinguishable shattered before this blue dragon goes to sea infused with the strength character formula. The saber light knocked Sima Hong back with a schwa sound. Sima Hong's clothes were torn, and his flesh was mangled. There was no place on him that was unscathed. He appeared to be in a sorry state. When he fell from the air, he vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. Unexpectedly, he managed to knock back an inferior grade martial sage. Furthermore, he is so injured. The onlookers who sensed this were extremely shocked. They did not dare to imagine it. Sima Hong was a martial sage. Unexpectedly, a martial monarch's killing move knocked him back. Xiao. Sima Hong only retreated 100 meters in the air before he regained his footing. The wounds on his body healed at a visible rate. An extremely sinister look flashed in Sima Hong's eyes. Earlier, Xiaochen managed to block his sword strike. That was already embarrassing enough. Now Xiaochen even injured him in front of everyone. Originally given Sima Hong's strength, even if Xiaochen executed the strength character formula, and the blue dragon goes to sea, he would not have been able to injure Sima Hong. However, Sima Hong had misjudged. He had used only half his strength to defend against the blue dragon goes to sea. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen was able to increase the might of the blue dragon goes to sea by 33 times in an instant. Since Sima Hong was caught off guard, he ended up in such a sorry state. Once again, he lost to Xiaochen. Chapter 623. Unexpectedly, there is such a secret technique. It can instantly increase the might of one's martial technique by 33 times. If it were a regular peak martial monarch, they would have been killed by this attack. After Sima Hong calmed down, he thought with some fear in his heart, I have to get rid of this brat. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble in the future. If I let him mature, the Sima clan will fall. Seeing Sima Hong stand up again, Xiaochen, who was lying weakly on the ground, could not help but reveal a bitter smile. Using the strength character formula to activate the blue dragon goes to sea was already the strongest killing move that Xiaochen could execute. Once the strength character formula was activated, any fist or leg martial technique would instantly increase its might by 33 times. The first time Xiaochen executed the strength character formula, it was Lu Ruyue's father who activated it. At that time, he was forced to execute it and could only use it. He did not know the principles behind it. After Xiaochen advanced to martial monarch, he barely managed to learn this secret technique with Ao Jiao's help. Right now, Xiaochen was not very familiar with it. His quintessence was not surging enough. When he executed it like this, not only was his quintessence drained, but his stamina was also completely drained. Without 3 to 5 days of rest, he would not be able to recover. When Xiaochen saw Sima Hong slowly walking over like the Grim Reaper, he calmed down. Even if Xiaochen had to choose again, he would not choose to lose without a fight. He would rather die than lower his head. One only had one breath left to live. Why should one let oneself live in such a sullen manner? That kind of life was not what Xiaochen wanted. There was no point in living there. Xiaochen sheathed the lunar shadow saber and prevented Ao Jiao from appearing. He did not intend to let her fight to the death. Xiaochen had promised the Thunder King that he would not let the lunar shadow saber break again, even if he died. When a cultivator advances to martial sage, his body will be infused with spiritual energy for a long period of time. In the instant he comprehended the world, his physical body will become a sage body. He cannot look at it like a regular cultivator. A regular light injury can recover in a short time. His physical body's defense is also several times stronger than a peak martial monarch's. Although Xiaochen managed to injure his opponent, he didn't injure his foundation, so it's all in vain. Even so, he can still be proud of himself. He's probably the only one in the past thousands of years who's managed to injure a martial saint as a martial emperor. Unfortunately, outside the heaven ascending platform, some of the cultivators who had rushed over to watch the show revealed expressions of regret as they sighed. Now no one in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion could stop Sima Hong. One could easily imagine Xiaochen's fate. Sima Hong crossed the distance of 1 kilometer and arrived before Xiaochen in less than 100 steps. As he looked at the weakened Xiaochen on the ground, there was no emotion in his eyes. You should be proud to die at the hands of a martial saint. With a flip of his hand, Sima Hong thrust his sword at Xiaochen's chest at lightning speed. Bang! Just as Sima Hong's sword was about to touch Xiaochen's chest, a strand of scarlet saber chi descended from the sky. It carried a boundless state of massacre as it pierced towards Sima Hong's forehead. That saber chi contained a surging energy. It was like the energy of thousands of people gathered together. There was even a trace of the power of heaven and earth in it. When Sima Hong felt a threat, he sheathed his sword and sent out a sword light to meet the saber chi. Dang! The sword and saber chi clashed, and Sima Hong took 3 steps back. When he looked up, he saw that Jiang Qi had finally arrived with the 2,000 elites of the Divine Saber Camp. These 2,000 bladesmen wore tight robes and held scarlet sabers in their hands. Their eyes were cold as they looked at Sima Hong. There was no fear in their gazes, only a boundless state of massacre. Under Jiang Qi's lead, the 2,000 people formed the blood-slaughtering formation in midair. Everyone's aura merged and formed a vast aura. That strand of saber chi earlier was the result of these 2,000 people working together. This was the first time they truly forced Sima Hong back 3 steps. Jiang Qi said sullenly, "Sima Hong, leave now. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion will pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, even if the Heavenly Saber Pavilion fights to the death, we will make you pay a price." Sima Hong smiled coldly and said, "Ignorant. How can the insignificant Heavenly Saber Pavilion make me pay a price? Today, I will show you the true strength of a martial sage." Bang! Sima Hong pushed off the ground and arrived before Jiang Qi. He brandished his sword and sword lights filled the sky. Every strike infused the power of heaven and earth into the sword technique. The 2,000 Divine Saber Camp disciples drew their sabers at the same time. Relying on the energy of the formation, they focused all their energy on Jiang Qi. Jiang Qi did his best to block. However, when facing Sima Hong, who used his full power, he paled in comparison to the vast power of heaven and earth. Dang! 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 Sima Hong's gaze was calm as he executed all sorts of sword techniques. His speed became faster and his strength became stronger. He forced Jiang Qi to retreat in midair. Unexpectedly, the blood-slaughtering formation formed by 2,000 elites was unable to block the martial sage Sima Hong. "You dare to be so impudent with such a dog's hit formation? Break!" Sima Hong lost his patience. He gathered all the sword lights together and thrust his sword forward. Jiang Qi's saber technique shattered, and the saber in his hand was knocked away. The sword lights entered Jiang Qi's body, and all the accumulated injuries erupted in one breath. He vomited a large mouthful of blood and fell weakly from the sky. The 2,000 divine saber camp bladesmen, who had been sending energy to Jiang Qi, could no longer hold on. They vomited mouthfuls of blood and fell from the sky like rain. After breaking the blood-slaughtering formation, Sima Hong landed once again. Then he walked towards Xiao Chun with a boundless killing intent. Fight it out with him. The Supreme Elders, who originally feared Sima Hong's strength, saw Jiang Qi and the other 2,000 fall miserably from the sky. Their eyes filled with hatred as they executed their strongest moves. They released multicolored saber lights in the air and chopped at Sima Hong. Sima Hong revealed disdain as he said, "No matter how many ants there are, it is useless." Dang! Dang! Sword lights flickered. Sima Hong's footsteps did not stop. Even when facing these people's attacks, he did not stop. With each step, he swung his sword. With one sword strike, Sima Hong broke the martial techniques that these Supreme Elders had spent their entire lives researching. He knocked back the Heavenly Saber Pavilion Supreme Elders like they were sandbags. They could not retaliate at all. Is this the strength of a martial sage? This is too horrifying. No wonder he is at the top of the pyramid of the Tianwu continent. Even the strength of a sect cannot stop him. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion is probably going to suffer a calamity. The cultivators who rushed over to watch the excitement revealed gloating expressions. The rise of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was not a good thing for them. Stop him. We cannot let him kill senior brother Xiao Chen. When the Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples gathered around the heaven ascending platform saw Sima Hong getting closer to Xiao Chen, their blood surged. They could no longer hold themselves back and launched themselves at Sima Hong. All for the sake of stopping Sima Hong and winning a chance for Xiao Chen to survive. You are not even comparable to an ant. How dare you block my way? Sima Hong revealed an impatient expression. He could not even be bothered to swing his sword. Instead, he waved his left hand gently. Wind blew from all directions, forming a strong gust of wind. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples flying over were knocked back a kilometer by the strong wind. The sound of footsteps grew louder and louder. Sima Hong arrived before Xiao Chen once again. He looked at Xiao Chen and said in a cold voice, "I never boast. Now, do you know the consequences of your wrong decision?" Xiao Chen's pale face was expressionless. He only said coldly, "If I don't die, I will wash the Sima clan in blood in the future." Ha ha ha. Who can save you? When Sima Hong heard this, it was like he had heard a joke. He laughed arrogantly. Who dares to offend a martial sage to save you? You are still dreaming even at death's door. Go to hell and destroy my Sima clan. Arrogant. Just at this moment, a cold snort came from the horizon. The person who spoke seemed to be far away. However, the voice sounded like it was right beside Sima Hong's ear, speaking softly. These two conflicting feelings merged together. Sima Hong's expression immediately changed. He felt an extremely dangerous aura, and quickly turned his head to look. However, before he could react, a wooden box seemed to have traveled through time and space. It suddenly flew over and crashed into Sima Hong. Pussy. The small wooden box seemed to contain an unparalleled force. Sima Hong vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. The wooden box landed in front of Xiao Chen with a xiao sound. The words like the Emperor descending personally were written on the front. No one dared to look at them directly. Sima Hong wiped off the blood from the corner of his lips and shouted angrily, acting all mysterious. The Tianwu continent no longer has Emperor Wu. Die. After Sima Hong spoke, he launched himself at Xiao Chen in an even more ferocious manner. Kasie. Kasie. The 4 wooden boards of the wooden box fell off one by one. A simple and unadorned saber floated quietly in the air. A horrifying aura spread out from the saber like it could topple mountains and flip seas. Before this aura, Sima Hong was like a drop of water in the vast ocean, unremarkable. The aura was like the vast ocean, and as heavy as a mountain. When Sima Hong crashed into this aura, he bounced back in a sorry state. He rolled a few times on the ground before coming to a stop. Divine weapon. Sima Hong's eyes filled with horror. Then he thought of something. Without saying anything else, he picked up Sima Lingxuan's unconscious body and flew out without looking back. "Come, Saber." An aged voice rang out. Everyone looked up and saw a gray-robed old man flying over. He casually waved his hand, and the divine weapon came out of its scabbard. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's divine weapon, which had not been drawn for many years, finally saw the light of day again. While in the air, the gray-robed old man waved his hand and grasped the divine weapon, Heavenly Universe Saber. In that instant, the world seemed insignificant under his feet. If a martial sage of the same cultivation steeled himself to run, it would be hard for the other party to stop him. At this moment, Sima Hong had already carried Sima Lingxian 10 kilometers away. In the eyes of the crowd, they were like a black dot in the distant sky. It was so hazy that they could not see the other party's movements. The old man held the divine weapon and swung it at Sima Hong. The divine weapon immediately gave off a bright light, completely covering the light of the sun. Everyone saw an unimaginable scene. Night fell quietly and countless stars twinkled. The boundless universe seemed to have formed a scroll, and at this moment it was unfolding. Normally, the most dazzling sun in the eyes of ordinary people was just an unremarkable star among the many stars. Compared to the vast universe, it was extremely insignificant. Chapter 624. Only the beam of light on the divine weapon remained eternal. At this moment, the gray-robed old man holding the divine weapon became the center of the sky dome realm. Xiao! A miserable shriek resounded, and the light scattered. The various mysterious phenomena vanished, replaced by the blazing sun high in the sky. However, the shocking scene just now had left an indelible mark in everyone's hearts. At the end of the horizon, everyone could see the black dot that Sima Hong had turned into. He was like a broken kite, on the verge of falling. The saber chi of the divine weapon severely injured him from 10 kilometers away. "Come back!" The gray-robed old man shouted ferociously. He spread open his left palm, and a huge suction force formed in the center of his palm, which contained the power of the world. A horrifying whirlpool formed in the air. Sima Hong, who was 10 kilometers away, was covered in blood as he was pulled back uncontrollably. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Sima Hong and Sima Lingxian both landed on the heaven-ascending platform. Under the vast might of the divine weapon, Sima Hong knelt on one knee. His severely injured body could not help but tremble. There was a horrifying wound on his chest from which blood flowed. When Jiang Qi and the other elders below saw the old man arrive, they became very excited. However, because of the might of the divine weapon, they could not go forward to speak with him. "Cassier." The old man casually waved his hand, and the divine weapon returned to its scabbard. The wooden box returned to its original position, and quietly stood beside Xiao Chun. Sima Hong's aura suddenly relaxed and he fell heavily to the ground. The old man's figure flashed and landed beside Sima Hong. "After injuring so many of my Heavenly Saber Pavilion's disciples, do you think that is possible?" Sima Hong bowed and said in dissatisfaction. "Lung Tianyan, you are just relying on the might of the divine weapon. What capabilities do you have? If you were truly capable, the position of Heavenly Saber Pavilion's pavilion master would have been yours." "So, it is him, the younger brother of the previous pavilion master." Unexpectedly he returned. 40 years ago, for the sake of vying for the position of pavilion master, he lost to his elder brother and left in a huff. Unexpectedly, after not seeing him for 40 years, he actually stepped into the threshold of martial sage. Upon hearing Sima Hong's words, everyone's heart skipped a beat. They all guessed the gray-robed old man's identity. 40 years ago, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was like the sun in the sky. Furthermore, two absolute geniuses appeared at the same time. Furthermore, they were brothers. Unfortunately, one mountain could not contain two tigers. Lung Tianyan lost to his brother in one move. He had no choice but to give up his position as pavilion master and leave the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. However, the demonic calamity 20 years ago caused the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to lose all its elites. The genius pavilion master also died. Since then, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had declined. Otherwise, Sima Hong would not dare to behave atrociously here, boasting that he could destroy the Heavenly Saber Pavilion by himself. Now, at the most critical moment for the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Lung Tianyun finally rushed back. Using the divine weapon, he defeated Sima Hong in one move. When Lung Tianyun heard Sima Hong's words, he snorted coldly, "Ignorant fool. Even if your father were here, he would not dare to say such words. Junior brother Jiang, send someone to hang him at the gates of Saber City. When the Sima clan's people come to pick him up, the Sima clan will have to compensate the Heavenly Saber Pavilion 100-fold. A bona fide martial sage, someone at the top of the pyramid of the continent, was actually going to be hung at the city gates. Just thinking about it gave everyone a headache. Sima Hong got up and leaped forward. He shouted angrily, "Lung Tianyun, you dare?" "Why would I not dare?" Lung Tianyun kicked Sima Hong back. The force in his right leg was boundless, scattering the last bit of Sima Hong's quintessence. When Jiang Qi and the other elders heard Lung Tianyun's words, they quickly ordered people to capture Sima Hong. Then they cuffed him up and dragged him away. Lung Tianyun looked up and saw the other cultivators who had taken advantage of the chaos to sneak in. He immediately came to his senses and quickly fled. Normally, this was a forbidden land. Now that the chaos was over, if they did not leave, it would be problematic if they pursued the matter. When Lung Tianyun saw that this group of people were rather tactful, he withdrew his gaze and ignored them. "Senior brother Lung, fortunately you arrived in time. Otherwise, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would have been destroyed." Jiang Qi and the others quickly said respectfully. Lung Tianyun muttered, "There is no need to say anything more. Although I have left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, I will not sit back and watch as the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is destroyed." Lung Tianyun waved his hand to stop Jiang Qi and the others from continuing. Then he turned his head and looked at Xiao Chun, who had already stood up. His eyes revealed deep interest. Xiao Chun performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks for senior's help." Lung Tianyun smiled faintly and said, "You saved yourself. You were able to resist the temptation of the divine weapon and hand it over to me. Back then, you sowed the seed of today. If not for the divine weapon's warning, I would not have rushed over. This is the result. If you could let go of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and go directly to the Haotian sect, Sima Hong would not have dared to play such tricks. In the end, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is a burden to you. However, this will never happen again. I will compensate you for today's matter." Based on Lung Tianyun's words, he was planning to stay in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The surrounding elders all revealed excited expressions, clearly very happy. With such a martial sage guarding the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, and able to use the divine weapon, no one in the Sky Dome realm would dare to offend the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in the future. After that, Sima Hong and Sima Lingxian had their cultivations sealed, and were hung above Saber City's walls. The commotion caused by the duel between Xiao Chun and Sima Lingxian came to an end just like that. Sima Hong, who had a ferocious aura and valiant strength, lost his reputation. He did not even gain any sympathy. When dawn arrived the next day, the Haotian sect's old Feng arrived as well. When he saw Sima Hong above Saber City, he smiled faintly. However, he did not enter the mountain and just left. Actually, old Feng was not particularly worried about Xiao Chun. He was a king-grade true dragon genius with great luck. In the Sky Dome realm, it would be very difficult for him to be killed. All sorts of things would happen. It was like heaven was looking after him, allowing him to escape from death's door. The result was as old Feng expected. The hanging Sima Hong was the best proof. Who could have imagined that a martial sage who attacked a martial monarch would end up in such a state, becoming the joke of the world? But it was this unbelievable thing that really happened in front of everyone's eyes. In the Sky Dome realm, Xiao Chun was the bearer of luck. He would not die so easily. Only in the Kunlun realm, where there were many geniuses with great luck, would Xiao Chun run into some fatal danger. 10 days later, the Sima clan's old clan head, who had already retired, personally came to apologize with 200,000 superior grade spirit stones. Only then did he bring back the Sima father and son. When facing Lung Tianyun, who possessed a divine weapon, and the Sima clan being in the wrong, no matter how dissatisfied and sullen he felt, he did not dare to show it. Otherwise, even if Lung Tianyan said to kill the two, the old clan head would not be able to do anything. Comparing 200,000 superior-grade spirit stones to a martial sage, the old clan head could still differentiate which was more valuable. Lung Tianyan used half of the 200,000 superior-grade spirit stones for the reconstruction of the heaven ascending platform, and for the treatment and rewards of the many disciples. The remaining half, 100,000 superior-grade spirit stones, were all given to Xiao Chun. Furthermore, Lung Tianyan also refined the inferior-grade spirit-gathering pearls, and gave Xiao Chun 100 of them, fulfilling his promise. Compared to superior-grade spirit stones, the effects of spirit-gathering pearls were much better. Not only were there more of them, but they were also pure. Given this, Xiao Chun now had 200 inferior-grade spirit-gathering pearls. It would not be enough for him to use them for cultivation every day. He would use them all in a few days. Xiao Chun intended to use the spirit-gathering pearls to break through bottlenecks, or use them for emergencies. For example, when he suddenly ran out of essence and needed to replenish it. If he had spirit-gathering pearls, it would be much easier. In the battle with Sima Hong, Xiao Chun felt a sense of danger. He was still too weak before a martial sage. In the future, when Xiao Chun went to the Kunlun realm, his luck would not be as strong. He could not wait for others to save him at all times. He needed to have his own trump cards. The physical body of a martial sage had already become a sage body. If he did not truly injure the other party, it would be hard to deal any damage to them. Xiao Chun temporarily gave up on severely injuring a martial sage. That was not realistic. Xiao Chun's goal was to be able to leave easily when he met a martial sage. At the very least, he needed to be able to protect himself. Xiao Chun could only raise his blue dragon cloud soaring art to great perfection, and see if he could snatch a chance of survival from a martial sage. If the other geniuses of the same generation knew what Xiao Chun was thinking, they would be greatly astonished. They were still thinking about how to break through to martial monarch, and how to deal with a medial-grade martial monarch. However, Xiao Chun's gaze was fixed on martial sage. He was much stronger than them, leaving them far behind. There was a waterfall at the back of Qingyan Peak. Below the waterfall was a lake 3 kilometers wide. In the past, when Xiao Chun was here, he had cultivated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art to consummation. The blue dragon was of the water attribute. Cultivating the blue dragon cloud soaring art in this lake would definitely be faster. While cultivating, time would pass strangely quickly. Perhaps the last time he looked up was the morning sun. In the next moment, he comprehended something, and the sun was already setting. When he looked up, the day and night changed. Loneliness flooded his heart like the tide. The surroundings were silent. Only the sound of flowing water could be heard. However, no matter how lonely it was, he had to endure it. In his fight with Sima Hong, Xiao Chun had suffered too much. He had nearly lost his life. If he didn't want the same thing to happen a second time, he would have to endure all of this. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. Above the lake, Xiao Chun shouted, and a dragon roar resounded endlessly in his chest. His figure flashed, and 9 identical clones appeared on the water. Whoosh! Whoosh! Compared to the roaming dragon's 9 transformations, these clones did not look any different. However, if one observed carefully, one would discover that each clone had an ethereal dragon-shaped aura surrounding them. This made the clones seem more realistic. Not only were they made of flesh and blood, but they also had a physical form and spirit. Their expressions did not appear dull. Among the small tricks of the blue dragon cloud soaring art, the roaming dragon's 9 transformations was Xiao Chun's favorite. This move could be used to advance or retreat. When attacking, it could confuse the opponent. When leaving, it would be hard to distinguish the real from the fake. However, it was far from sufficient to deal with a martial sage. Xiao Chun shook his head slightly, and the 9 clones merged together. A resonant dragon roar came from behind him, causing a pillar of water to surge into the sky. Blue dragon tail whip. Huchi. A strong wind blew. Xiao Chun's body seemed to have turned into a dragon's tail, drawing a long arc on the water surface. As his figure flashed, he created a crescent moon-shaped pillar of water. Chapter 625. In a breath of time, Xiaochen moved 5 kilometers. Everywhere the strong wind blew, waves splashed. After he stood still, the lake water fell to the ground like a pattering rain. Xiaochen entered deep thought. He muttered to himself, the explosive power of the blue dragon tail whip is already comparable to Sima Hong's speed. However, it is not enough to increase the explosive power. The most important thing is to raise my basic speed. Time flew by. Xiaochen stayed on the small lake for 2 months. He cultivated the blue dragon cloud soaring art at every moment. He felt that he was not far from great perfection. Now he circulated the blue dragon cloud soaring art. As he soared into the air, the blue dragon image under his feet could exist. It would not be like before, where it could only exist for a short period of time, flickering. Xiaochen's speed increased by another 20%. However, it was still far from the result he wanted. According to the secret manual, after the blue dragon cloud soaring art reaches great perfection, I can materialize another 2 blue dragons to aid in flight. When cultivated to the limit, I can materialize 18 blue dragons. Xiaochen's face sank slightly. He felt somewhat frustrated. 2 months had passed, and he was still far from his goal of shaking off an inferior-grade martial sage. He had only taken a small step forward. His goal was still very far away. He stomped heavily on the surface of the water, and 18 pillars of water shot up into the sky from the calm lake. When they landed, Xiaochen's eyes widened. When they landed, Xiaochen closed his eyes and allowed the water to drench his clothes. He slowly calmed his frustrated emotions. Senior brother Xiaochen, the spirit herbs you wanted are all prepared. Just at this moment, a melodious voice entered Xiaochen's ears. Jade Maiden Peak's Chu Xinyun arrived quietly. Xiaochen opened his eyes and circulated his quintessence. A mist rose from his body, and his clothes immediately became very dry. Xiaochen smiled faintly and walked over to Chu Xinyun. 2 months ago, Xiaochen had asked Chu Xinyun to look for the other ingredients for the beauty-halting pill. Jade Maiden Peak did not have many spirit herbs. Xiaochen did not have much time, so he could only find someone to help. Coincidentally, Xiaochen's blue dragon cloud soaring art had reached a small bottleneck. He needed to go out and exercise for a while, so he decided to refine the beauty-halting pill. Chu Xinyun handed a spatial ring to Xiaochen and said, I have already found the 99 herbs and spirit flowers that you wanted. They are all in here. Check if there are any mistakes. Xiaochen accepted the ring and checked it. When he did not find anything wrong, he said happily, Many thanks, junior sister Chu. You have helped me a lot. Chu Xinyun smiled faintly and said with some envy, If I am not wrong, you should be refining the youth-halting pill. It can preserve your appearance for 1,000 years. Elder sister Ryue is really fortunate. Compared to men, women placed more importance on their appearance. They were afraid that time would be merciless and they would lose their youth. Being able to preserve one's appearance for 1,000 years was undoubtedly the dream of every woman. Naturally, Chu Xinyun was no exception. However, she knew that these 99 ingredients would cost a lot of spirit stones. Furthermore, it would not be easy to refine them. Wanting Xiaochen to help her refine one was too much of an extravagant hope. I will take my leave first. I will not disturb your cultivation any longer. Chu Xinyun stopped thinking about this matter and prepared to take her leave. Xiaochen called out to stop her. Wait a moment, this is the alchemic recipe for the youth-halting pill. If you have time in the future, you can refine it yourself. Xiaochen could tell what the other party was thinking. However, some of the ingredients were not suitable. In a few months, Xiaochen would be leaving. He would not be able to help her refine another one, so he gave the alchemic recipe to her. Chu Xinyun looked at Xiaochen in disbelief. The alchemic recipe for the youth-halting pill was worth cities. It would not be an exaggeration to say that its price was astronomical. However, Xiaochen actually gave it to her so casually. After handing the alchemic recipe to Chu Xinyun, Xiaochen immediately returned to his residence and started to prepare to refine the youth-halting pill. 99 kinds of herbs were arranged neatly on the wooden table. After counting them, Xiaochen finally took out the blue dragon medicine cauldron. Looking at the blue dragon medicine cauldron with overwhelming spiritual energy, Xiaochen became somewhat distracted. The image of that otherworldly girl who liked to dress up in men's clothes appeared in his mind. I wonder how she is now. I will be leaving the Sky Dome realm soon. After I refine the youth halting pill, I should make a trip to the imperial capital. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and muttered to himself. He still owed the other party a promise. If there was an opportunity, it would be best if he could repay it before leaving. Dong. 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 Just as Xiaochen prepared to refine the pill, a series of knocks on the door made him stop what he was doing. Who could be knocking at this time? Before he came, Xiaochen had instructed Lu Suifeng not to let anyone disturb him. Xiaochen waved his long sleeves and put away the herbs on the table, as well as the blue dragon medicine cauldron. Then he went to open the door. A fragrance wafted over, and a girl in a red dress stood at the door. She looked very pretty, capable of causing the downfall of nations. Xiaochen was slightly stunned. Then he smiled and asked, "What wind-blue princess you here?" The person who came was the very popular Princess Yingyu of the Great Qin nation. Yingyu said softly, "Is it because you obtained the top rank of the true dragon ranking that you dare to speak to me so rudely?" Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "How could I dare? One does not come here for no reason. Princess, just get straight to the point." Yingyu withdrew her smile and said sullenly, "Do you still remember the agreement you made with Feng Feishue?" Xiaochen was stunned. He nodded and said, "Naturally, I remember. Back then, outside Mo City, she gave me the blue dragon cloud soaring art, and I made a promise to her." Yingyu said, "She is in trouble. She is currently under house arrest by her clansmen." Xiaochen frowned and said, "House arrest? Why?" Most of the Feng clan's businesses were personally managed by Feng Feishue. Feng Feishue held great authority in the Feng clan. How could she be under house arrest for no reason? Yingyu organized her thoughts and said, "The Feng clan is the second-ranked merchant association in the world. Do you know that the first-ranked merchant association is the Wan Clan Merchant Association?" Xiaochen indicated that he understood. Of the 5 great merchant associations, the Great Qin Nation's Wan Clan Merchant Association was the strongest. Xiaochen had seen this before in Dragon Sealing City. Aside from ignorance of tea, all the businesses in Dragon Sealing City were managed by the Wan clan. Although Dragon Sealing City was only open for a month, the 1 million people qualified to go were the strongest cultivators in the entire continent. The Wan clan definitely did not lack spirit stones. Just this 1 month of business would be sufficient for the Wan clan to earn a large sum. Xiaochen obtained some information about the Wan Clan Merchant Association from Kim Tae-ho. It was a very strong faction. The Wan clan had accumulated a lot of wealth. However, he had never heard of anyone extorting the Wan clan. It was impossible for the other party to do so without some accumulations and strength. Otherwise, such a fat sheep would have been eaten up by some strong sects and martial sages long ago. Yingyu continued, "For years ago, the Wan clan's young master fell in love with Feng Feishue at first sight. He got the Wan clan's elders to propose marriage to Feng Feishue. The Wan clan is much stronger than the Feng clan. If the Wan clan offended the Feng clan, it would be very difficult for the Feng Clan Merchant Association to do business. Furthermore, many people in the upper echelon of the Feng clan wanted to use this opportunity to build connections with the Wan clan. Thus this marriage was set. 4 years ago." Xiaochen recalled some past events. The first time he met Feng Feishue in Mo City seemed to have been 4 years ago. Could it be that back then, Feng Feishue came to Mo City because of this? Did she anticipate this day? Xiaochen remained silent for a long time before saying, "Princess Yu, what is the relationship between the Xiao clan and the Feng clan in Mo City?" Given the relationship between Yingyu and Feng Feishue, as well as the intelligence network of the Great Qin Nation's royal court, it was impossible for Yingyu not to know about this. Xiaochen could not help but ask about the doubts that he had been hiding in his heart. Yingyu revealed a stunned expression. She asked in surprise, "Did your father not tell you?" Xiaochen shook his head, indicating that he did not. Yingyu muttered, "Even so, I cannot tell you. I only ask you if you will fulfill your promise and bear this responsibility, preventing this marriage." Bearing this responsibility would mean becoming enemies with the strongest merchant association in the continent. Although Xiaochen was strong now, it would be like striking a rock with an egg when facing a superpower. Xiaochen did not think for too long. He said calmly, "Since she has spoken, I will naturally do my best." Yu smiled gently. Feng Feishue did not misjudge you. Just because of these words of yours, it was worth it for her to bear it for 4 years. I need to make some preparations before I can follow you to the imperial capital. Yu nodded. In that case, I will wait for you in Saber City. Feng Feishue's father will be there as well. The main thing is that the old man of the Feng clan just passed away. Her father is not able to hold on much longer. Otherwise, he would be able to drag things out for a while longer. I understand. After Feng Feishue left, Xiaochen went to the small tree in the courtyard and sat down. Then he took out 2 medallions from the universe ring and fiddled with them slowly. He revealed a pensive expression. Of the 2 medallions, one was the minor Haotian medallion of the Haotian sect, and the other was the heavenly fiend medallion of the Myriad Fiend Palace. Either medallion could help Xiaochen ask for a favor from a martial sage at a crucial moment. The favor from 2 martial sages was also the reason why Xiaochen did not fear the other superpowers when he traveled the world. Martial sages stood at the top of the pyramid of power in the continent. They were not people that any sect could afford to offend. However, it is probably impossible to get them to help me deal with the Wan clan. However, they should be able to keep me alive. The 2 medallions floated quietly in front of Xiaochen. Finally, Xiaochen made up his mind. Xiaochen put away the Haotian medallion and grasped the heavenly fiend medallion tightly with his right hand. I should keep the minor Haotian medallion for when I go to the Kunlun realm. In the end, the Wan clan is just a merchant association. 1 martial sage is sufficient to keep me alive. Xiaochen pushed off the ground and stood on a blue dragon image. He moved up and down in the air, moving at a speed that far surpassed that of a martial monarch of the same cultivation realm, heading for the ancient desolate land. 10 days later, Xiaochen arrived at the Myriad Fiend Palace at the bottom of the Heavenly Extermination Lake. After he presented the Heavenly Fiend Medallion, he was received by Bai's father and Zixuan. After Xiaochen stated his purpose for coming, and Zixuan received the Heavenly Fiend Medallion and smiled faintly, "I thought that you would never be able to use this Heavenly Fiend Medallion." Xiaochen asked somewhat uncertainly, "Senior, will you approve of my request?" And Zixuan put away the medallion and said softly, "Although the Wan clan is strong, they are still businessmen in the end. I can still protect your life. However, I also have something that I need your help with." Xiaochen performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Speak your mind. This junior will do his best to do it." Chapter 626. And Zixuan smiled and said, "By Jiang Zimo and Mu Xinya have already taken the Kunlun realm. If you go to the Kunlun realm, if you have the opportunity, please take care of them." Xiaochen said in surprise, "I remember that the 3 of them did not make it into the top 20. They did not meet the requirements of the Bushan Palace." And Zixuan did not explain further. He said, "The Bushan Palace is only the Bushan Palace of you humans. It is not the Bushan Palace of our fiend race." Xiaochen understood a little. He said, "Definitely. The 3 of them are my friends. Even if Senior did not say so, I would have done so." After leaving the Myriad Fiend Palace, Xiaochen heaved a sigh of relief. After thinking for a while, he headed for the headquarters of the Great Tang Nation's Golden Rock Merchant Association. Xiaochen did not understand the strength of the Myriad Clan Merchant Association. He needed to find someone he could trust to understand the other party's strength. Of all the people that Xiaochen knew, only Kim Taeho understood the Myriad Clan Merchant Association the best. Xiaochen stood on an azure dragon in the air, flying continuously towards the Great Tang Nation's capital, traveling at his fastest speed. Xiaochen's blue dragon cloud soaring art showed signs of making a breakthrough. This was a pleasant surprise. 10 days later, Xiaochen arrived at the Great Tang Nation's capital. However, Kim Taeho's whereabouts were unknown. Xiaochen did not see Xiaochen immediately. He only found Xiaochen on the 3rd day after he spread the news. Xiaochen did not like to speak nonsense. He got right to the point and told Xiaochen why he was here. After Fatso heard that, his eyes narrowed. He laughed loudly and said, "To think that this little girl would have such a day. Damn it, she usually snatched away a lot of business from this fat lord." Seeing Xiaochen's unfriendly expression, Kim Tae-ho quickly said, "I was too excited and could not control my emotions. Brother Xiaochen, don't blame me. I will tell you about the strength of the Wan Merchant Association." Kim Tae-ho took a sip of wine and said, "Now that you have advanced to martial monarch, the martial king experts of the Wan clan are not worthy of your attention. I will not talk about this. I will focus on the martial monarch experts that the Merchant Association hired." The Wan Clan Merchant Association had a total of 18 large branches in the Tianmu continent. Each branch had 2 martial monarch experts. Their cultivations ranged from peak inferior grade martial monarch to medial grade martial monarch. After all, the Wan Clan's Merchant Association was rich in resources. It would be difficult to find an early stage inferior grade martial monarch. Just the branches already had 36 martial monarchs. They were several times stronger than the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When Xiaochen heard Fatso's explanation, he was slightly astonished. The peak combat power of the Tianwu continent was the martial sage, but there were very few martial sages. There were hundreds of millions of people in the Sky Dome realm. The boundless sea, the ancient desolate land, and the Tianwu continent had more than 100 martial sages. Compared to the vast Sky Dome realm, there were very few martial sages. Furthermore, martial sages were busy comprehending the heavenly Tao. Very few of them would bother with mundane matters. When it came to disputes between ordinary people, martial monarchs were already the peak. To most people, martial sages were legends. Most people only heard of martial sages and rarely saw one. In their hearts, martial monarchs were already peak experts. However, although the 36 martial monarchs were strong, Xiaochen did not care too much about them. As long as they were not superior grade martial monarchs, it would be fine. Kim Tae-ho continued, "These are just the strength of the branches. The truly strong ones are the Wan clan's headquarters. The headquarters has what they call the 8 great guardian deities, superior grade martial monarchs. The 8 great guardian deities are the nicknames of 8 superior grade martial monarchs. They are very famous and extremely strong. Once, there was a peak martial monarch bandit who wanted to rob the Wan clan's headquarters. When the 8 great guardian deities worked together, they destroyed the bandit within 100 moves. The 8 great guardian deities. Xiaochen made a mental note of them. Then he looked at the other party and said, "They should not be so weak. Otherwise, your Jin clan would not be suppressed by the Wan clan." Kim Tae-ho took a big gulp of wine and said, "That's right. Rumor has it that the Wan clan has a martial sage as well. That is their greatest trump card." After hearing Kim Tae-ho's explanation, Xiaochen gained a better understanding of the Wan clan's merchant association. Everyone only knew about the 8 noble clans and the 10 great sections. Unexpectedly, the Great Jin Nation had a merchant association that was comparable to a noble clan. In terms of overall strength, many of the noble clans could not compare to the Wan clan's merchant association. 36 martial monarchs, the 8 great guardian deities, the martial sages at the top of the pyramid. The Wan clan's accumulations were truly horrifying. Seeing that Xiaochen was about to leave, Fatso hesitated for a while before telling him about Wan Feng's matter. He said, "Little brother Xiaochen, the welcoming envoy this time seems to be related to the Wan clan. You'd best be mentally prepared." Xiaochen paused for a moment, but he could only shake his head and smile bitterly. One martial sage was already enough of a headache for him. Unexpectedly, there was another welcoming envoy now. However, since Xiaochen had already made a promise, there was no longer any chance to go back on it. Even if there was a mountain of daggers or a sea of flames, a dragon's lair or a tiger's den, he had to continue forward. Kim Tae-ho watched as Xiaochen left. He squinted slightly and revealed a contemplative expression on his chubby face. He muttered to himself, "The Wan clan is not that easy to deal with. Just Xiaochen alone will not be enough." After a long time, Kim Tae-ho seemed to have made a decision. He said to the manservant beside him, "Gather all the martial monarchs that the Golden Rock Merchant Association can use in the shortest time possible. Also, invite the heavenly craftsmaners Miss Sue over. Damn it, this fat lord will make a bet as well. Roar, roar. As the blue dragon roared, Xiaochen soared into the air. He stood on the blue dragon image and rushed back to the heavenly saber pavilion without stopping. Ancient desolate land, Great Tang Nation's capital. Traveling back and forth took close to a month. Xiaochen did not wanting you to take too long. Xiaochen flew quickly in the air. 10,000 meters in the air, cultivators with good eyesight could see a blue dragon moving up and down in the clouds. It was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, scattering the clouds in front of it. The white-robed Xiaochen stood on the dragon's head, facing the wind. No expression could be seen on his delicate face. Chi. Suddenly, Xiaochen felt that the blue dragon cloud soaring art was about to break through from small perfection to great perfection. This feeling was very miraculous. There was no need for him to circulate the energy of the blue dragon cloud soaring art. His quintessence was like water, slowly flowing through his meridians. Some of the smaller meridians that he would not normally pass through also flowed through. Xiaochen could clearly feel the azure dragon image under his feet roaring with all its might. Its speed increased explosively, tearing small tears in space. Roar! A resonant dragon roar resounded. The blue dragon cloud soaring art had finally reached great perfection. The quintessence, which had completed a small cycle, returned to his dantian and started to circulate according to the great perfection meridian diagram. Xiao! Xiao! Aside from the blue dragon image below Xiaochen, 2 more blue dragon images appeared beside Xiaochen. His speed was more than twice as fast as before, reaching Mach 8. Xiaochen had not been able to break through his bottleneck after 2 months of closed-door cultivation. He had not expected that he would break through so naturally while flying at his limit. This astonished Xiaochen. However, without those 2 months of bitter cultivation, accumulating a large amount of experience, he would not be able to make such a breakthrough. In the end, it was just a matter of time. Blue Dragon Tail Whip. Xiaochen revealed a joyful expression as he executed the Blue Dragon Tail Whip. In that instant, 3 blue dragon images moved at the same time. As the dragon tails swung, they struck Xiaochen heavily. Wuxia. In that instant, a resplendent azure light streaked across the sky. Everywhere the azure light passed, Xiaochen moved 10 kilometers in one breath. When Xiaochen looked back, there was another Xiaochen standing in the air 10 kilometers behind him. That was an afterimage he left behind because he was moving too fast. After 3 breaths of time, the afterimage slowly faded until it disappeared. Xiaochen smiled gently and said, "In an instant, I moved 10 kilometers to face a martial sage. I finally have a chance to leave." However, the great perfection blue dragon cloud soaring art exhausts too much quintessence. Normally, I only need 1 blue dragon to assist me in battle. After Xiaochen returned to the heavenly saber pavilion, he headed straight for the courtyard where Lung Tianyin was. When he found Lung Tianyin, Xiaochen bowed respectfully and told him why he was here. "Senior, can you lend this junior the divine weapon?" If an ordinary person said this to Lung Tianyin, he would have slapped the person away. How could a divine weapon be lent so easily? However, the one who spoke was Xiaochen. Lung Tianyin could not help but enter deep thought. After a long time he slowly said, "I can sense a holy seal in your mind. Since Lu Tianyu promised you this opportunity, I will not reject it." Ooh. Lung Tianyin casually waved his hand, and the wooden box containing the divine weapon flew out. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and caught the wooden box. He said softly, "Many thanks, senior." With the divine weapon, Xiaochen felt more confident on this trip. However, he still hoped that he did not have to use it. He just needed to deter the other party. Finally, Xiaochen took out the superior grade inner vest that the Haotian sect had given him from the universe ring. This was a defensive superior grade secret treasure. It could increase his defense by 20%. The favor from the heavenly fiend palaces in Zishuan, the information from Kim Taeho, the defensive superior grade secret treasure, and the divine weapon heavenly universe. Everything was ready. Xiaochen covered the wooden box containing the divine weapon with a black cloth and carried it on his back. Then he took a deep breath and headed for Saber City. In an inn in Saber City, the Feng clan's clan head Feng Tianming, and Yingyu had already been waiting for Xiaochen for more than a month. At this moment, the two of them sat down at a tea table. There was an ancient tea set on the table. An incense burner sat in the upper right corner of the table. Smoke wafted out, refreshing the mind. Feng Tianming wore luxurious clothes and withdrew his aura. He took a sip of tea and said, "Princess Yu, we have already waited for so long. Could it be that Xiaochen is not coming?" Feng Tianming could not help but feel suspicious. Right now, Xiaochen had a great future ahead of him. He stood at the top of the younger generation, and was a king-grade true dragon genius. After he entered the Kunlun realm, he would be able to advance to martial sage at the very least. If Xiaochen's luck was good, he might become a second Thunder King if he was not careful. Xiaochen did not want to offend the strong Wan clan over something he said 4 years ago, seeking trouble for himself. After all, he had not truly matured yet. Yingyu put down the teacup in her hand, and revealed a faint smile on her pretty face. She said, "Don't worry. I understand him. Feishue understands him as well. Otherwise, she would not have endured for 4 years for him." Chapter 627. Feng Tianming sighed and revealed a helpless expression. He muttered, "If only I could be like great-grandfather and become a martial sage, Schweper would not have to suffer like this. You don't have to look for Xiaochen at this time. Our Feng family owes him too much." From the bottom of his heart, Feng Tianming did not want to trouble Xiaochen. However, the old man had passed away. The huge Feng clan was no longer something that he could control alone. Many people who were eyeing the position of clan head started to use Feng Feishue's marriage as an excuse to attack him. If Xiaochen wanted to get those people to shut up and not let Feng Feishue suffer, he could only get Xiaochen to make an appearance. There was no other way. Yingyu said softly, "It's fine. Even if Xiaochen knows why your cousin left the Xiao clan back then, he will not go back on his promise. He is a man of his word. Xiaochen is such a person. He doesn't make promises, but once he does, he will do his best to fulfill them." Dong dong dong. As the two conversed, someone knocked on the door. Feng Tianming went to open the door, and discovered the waiter. "Dear guests, there is a white-robed bladesman downstairs. He says he wants to see you." Yingyu and Feng Tianming exchanged glances and revealed expressions of joy. Xiaochen finally arrived. It would not be difficult for Xiaochen to find out where Yingyu and Feng Tianming were in Saber City. The city lord's residents would definitely know the whereabouts of such important people. Xiaochen followed the waiter and carried the black, squarish wooden box on his back. Soon he arrived at Yingyu's booth. "I'm sorry. I've prepared too much and made the two of you wait." Xiaochen cupped his hands and apologized. When Feng Tianming felt the dense quintessence aura from Xiaochen's body, a look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. There was also a complicated feeling in his heart. Yingyu stood up and said, "It's fine. Let's go now. This is the Feng clan's clan head, Feng Tianming. He is also Feng Feishue's father." Feng Tianming recovered his wits and said seriously, "Many thanks for your help. Right now it is very urgent. We can talk about some things on the way. Let's fly back to the imperial capital first." Above the 9 heavens, a huge golden bird stretched out its huge wings, which had a wingspan of over 300 zhang. It soared through the clouds at 6 times the speed of sound, breaking through the sky. 8 people stood on the back of the bird. Aside from Xiaochen's group of 3, there were 5 of Feng Tianming's bodyguards. These bodyguards were all peak inferior grade martial monarchs. Together, they were a strong force. Feng Tianming explained the situation to Xiaochen. The martial sage of the Feng clan had passed away, and Feng Tianming's elder brothers had fought for the position of clan head. Using Feng Tianming's rejection of the marriage alliance with the Wan clan as an excuse, they worked together to make things difficult for him, forcing him to fulfill his original promise, allowing the Wan clan's young master to marry Feng Feishue as soon as possible. Feng Tianming respected Feng Feishue's opinion, and did not agree. This caused the group of people to reach a stalemate. Furthermore, for some reason, the Wan clan's attitude had become abnormally unyielding. With the secret support of the Wan clan, Those people placed Feng Feishue under house arrest, not allowing her to go out. After Xiao Chen heard everything, he entered deep thought. Then he said, "You mean that if I go over they will not dare to force Feng Feishue to marry Feng Feishue?" Feng Tianming remained silent for a while before replying, "That is indeed the case. For hundreds and thousands of years, the Xiao clan and the Feng clan had always been connected by marriage. This was the ancestral teachings, which only ended during your parents' generation. Because the blue dragon martial spirit disappeared, and the Xiao clan declined, the Feng clan ended the ancestral teachings. Now, you possess the blue dragon martial spirit, and are the top ranker of the true dragon ranking. If you say that you want to marry Feng Feishue, that group of people will not dare to say anything." After saying this, Feng Tianming carefully observed Xiao Chen's expression. After all, his cousin, Xiao Chen's birth mother, had been Feng Feishue's cousin. Because she had looked down on Xiao Chen's father's cultivation, and the marriage was arranged by the elders, she had no feelings for him. After giving birth to Xiao Chen, she had left the Xiao clan. To Xiao Chen's father, this was a great humiliation. He was afraid that this matter would upset Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. However, great waves surged in his mind. No wonder when Feng Feishue came to the Xiao clan, his father did not even want to see her. No wonder his father was unwilling to seek help from the Feng clan during the Xiao clan's most critical moment. It turned out that he had suffered such humiliation in the past. For the sake of getting rid of him, a woman had even abandoned the son she had just given birth to. This was a huge blow to a man's pride. Xiao Chen calmed himself and said, "Let's talk when we get there. The matters of my father's generation have nothing to do with me. It will not affect my decision." When Feng Tianming heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief and did not say anything more. 5 days later, after passing through countless cities, the group finally arrived at the bustling imperial capital. Then they landed in front of the huge Feng clan residence. "Greetings, clan head." "Greetings, clan head." The 2 rows of guards in front of the residence bowed respectfully and greeted Feng Tianming. The doors to the residence opened, and a person who looked like a housekeeper came out. Feng Tianming quickly led the group into the residence. The Feng clan residence occupied a large area. As the group passed through several gardens and corridors, they met countless servants along the way. Several people paid attention to Xiao Chen, whispering to each other. They wondered if he was the genius king-grade white-robed bladesman on the True Dragon ranking. "Uncle Fu, call my big brother and the others to the Great Hall. I have something to say to him," Feng Tianming said to the old man who looked like a housekeeper. "There is no need to look for him. I am already here." Just at this moment, a middle-aged man with an overbearing aura led a large group of people around a bend in the road in front of Feng Tianming and the others. This was Feng Tianming's big brother, Feng Tianhua. He had a sinister smile on his face, and a sword hung at his waist. His gaze was cold, like a venomous snake in the dark night. Feng Tianming ignored the other party's attitude. He raised his hand and said, "You came at the right time. I have something to discuss with you." Feng Tianhua chuckled and said, "I happen to have something to discuss with you as well. Tianming, you came at the right time." Feng Tianming frowned slightly. He did not know what the other party was planning. He said, "Come with me to the Great Hall first. Later, I will gather all the elders of the clan. You can speak then." "Haha. There is no need for you to gather the elders." Feng Tianhua smiled sinisterly. 3 days ago, niece Feishue and her aunt were brought to the Great Jin Nation by the Wan clan. 7 days later, the Wan clan will hold a wedding ceremony. At that time, all the famous people of the continent will attend the wedding. The moment Feng Tianhua said this, Xiao Chen and the others were stunned. Feng Tianming shouted angrily, "Feng Tianhua, who is the clan head? Do you want me to beat you up and send you to the clan's disciplinary hall? Beat me up and send me to the disciplinary hall?" Feng Tianhua smiled coldly and retorted, "What qualifications do you have to beat me up and send me to the disciplinary hall? Do you know the relationship between the welcoming envoy of the upper realm and the Wan clan? How foolish. The Feng clan nearly died because of you. Do you know that? The welcoming envoy is the grandson of that major character of the Wan clan. 3 days ago, It was that welcoming envoy who personally brought niece Feixue away. Feng Tianhua spat out these 3 sentences at an extremely fast speed, causing the atmosphere in the air to freeze. Feng Tianming's expression could not help but change. He had not expected things to become so troublesome. He muttered, "There were rumors long ago that the Wan clan's martial sage spent a lot of effort to send his grandson to the upper realm through Dragon Sealing City 10 years ago. Unexpectedly, the other party managed to make a name for himself. For Wan Feng to be able to become the welcoming envoy of the Bushan Palace, his strength in the Kunlun realm was definitely not to be underestimated. His connections were also very extensive. With this trip, the Wan clan had probably established a connection with the upper realm. In the next 1,000 years, the Wan clan's position in the Tianwu continent would be even more unshakable. Feng Tianhua smiled coldly as he shouted, "Now do you know who the true sinner of the Feng clan is? A marriage alliance with the Wan clan will only bring benefits to our Feng clan. Unexpectedly, you keep making excuses. You are simply trying to push the Feng clan into a dead end. You only care about your own personal interests. What qualifications do you have to be the Feng clan's clan head? The Feng clan's vast business concerns the interests of tens of thousands of people. What face do you have to cling to the position of clan head?" With the support of the Wan clan, Feng Tianhua did not care about Feng Tianming at all. Using the resources that the Wan clan provided, he managed to bribe several of the upper echelon of the clan. Right now, Feng Tianhua wanted to take advantage of the situation to remove Feng Tianming from the position of clan head and become the clan head himself, fulfilling his dream of several decades. Feng Tianhua took another heavy step forward and pointed at Feng Tianming's nose. He said, 30 years ago, when the old man chose you to be the clan head, I was already unconvinced. Look at the current Feng clan. It is nearly suppressed by the great Tang nation's Jin clan. What capabilities do you have to be the clan head?" Chapter 628. There were many people behind Feng Tianhua, all of whom were his supporters. They also stepped forward and pointed out Feng Tianming's faults. The other party's aura surged, suppressing the enraged Feng Tianming in an instant. Then the other party pressed on. Feng Tianming's heart burned with rage. Not only had Feng Tianhua sold his daughter, but he had also turned around and accused him of all sorts of wrongdoings, wanting to remove him from the position of clan head. It was simply unreasonable. However, his brothers of the same generation were all standing on the other party's side at this moment, making it impossible for him to defend himself. He couldn't even come up with an argument. "Feng Tianming, I'll give you some face. Step down from the clan head position now. Otherwise, we will hold a general assembly of elders to publicly accuse you of your crimes. Not only will you lose the clan head position, but you will also be sent back to the disciplinary hall." Feng Tianhua revealed a sinister smile. He appeared very confident. The clan head position was already in his bag. No one could change that. "Elder brother Tianming, since ancient times, the clan head position has always belonged to the capable. Since you are incapable, you should step down. In any case, even if we hold a general assembly of elders, we will still vote for big brother Tianming. Whether you step down or not, the result will be the same. Step down as soon as possible. If you are incapable, then stop clinging on to the position." The people behind Feng Tianhua all spoke up, putting a lot of pressure on Feng Tianming. Feng Tianhua's lips curled up in a cold smile as he looked at Feng Tianming, quietly waiting for his answer. How boring. Xiaochen was no longer interested in listening to such an argument. He did not know what Feng Tianming was hesitating about. The other party clearly wanted him dead, so what was the point of being so wishy-washy? Feng Feixue had already been taken away. Right now the most important thing was to rush to the great Jin nation and bring her back. Xiaochen did not have time to waste on this bunch of unscrupulous people. He was a man. He should be decisive. Roar. A dragon roar came from his body. Xiaochen remained expressionless. He could not be bothered to waste his breath on Feng Tianming. Suddenly, he executed Berserk Dragon and charged at Feng Tianming. The dragon roared, and the image of a blue dragon appeared under Xiaochen's feet. As it moved up and down, It carried an intense wind with it. The tyrannical dragon head surged forward. This punch was incredibly powerful, and it came without any warning at all. Feng Tianhua, who was still waiting for an answer, was given a fright. He had never expected that someone would attack him in public at this time, and in such a ruthless manner. Caught off guard, he didn't even have the chance to draw his sword. Taking a step back, Zhang Xian punched out with his right fist. Jin Yuan surged in his body, intending to block the punch. Bang! The two fists collided, and a berserk chi exploded, forming a terrifying shockwave that forced some of the people in the surroundings to retreat. Cracks appeared on the sturdy stone pillars on both sides of the corridor, as if they would collapse at any moment. Feng Tianhua felt a sweet taste in his throat and blood immediately flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His opponent's chi had actually directly shattered his true essence and injured his internal organs. Who are you? How dare you behave atrociously in the Feng clan? Are you tired of living? Feng Tianhua shouted angrily. Xiaochen did not bother speaking nonsense with Feng Tianhua. The other party was a medial-grade martial monarch. Xiaochen needed to take advantage of the momentum of this punch to take him down. Otherwise, if Feng Tianhua recovered his wits and stabilized himself, he would be in big trouble. The blue dragon image under Xiaochen's feet roared ferociously. As it moved up and down, Xiaochen arrived before Feng Tianming in the blink of an eye. Then he circulated all his vital qi. Even without infusing his quintessence, Xiaochen's punch and claw contained 500 tons of force. His attacks were incredibly fast, and the circulation of his vital qi was faster than his quintessence. Bang! 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 Feng Tianhua only had time to circulate half of his quintessence to deal with Xiaochen's attacks. Then, Xiaochen forced him to retreat. A strong wind blew, and wounds of various sizes covered his body. Damn it! Scram! Forced into such a sorry state by a junior before everyone, Feng Tianhua finally flared up. His quintessence burned on the surface of his body. Tianhua was forced to burn his quintessence. The people who had retreated from the winding corridor were astonished as well. Feng Tianhua had been a medial-grade martial monarch for a long time already. Unexpectedly, he was forced to burn his quintessence so quickly. What was even more shocking was that when Feng Tianhua, who had burned his quintessence, punched at Xiaochen, he did not manage to knock Xiaochen back. Facing Feng Tianhua, who had burned his quintessence, Xiaochen was not surprised. He had expected this. He merged his vital qi and quintessence, and his attacks did not stop. The surging shockwaves exploded with a loud rumble, causing the air to reflect blurry traces. Feng Tianhua took 10 steps back, but Xiaochen only took 8 steps back. Boom! The winding corridor could no longer endure the shockwaves of the two's attacks. With a loud bang, it collapsed, turning into rubble. Bang! 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 The two exerted their strength at the same time, blasting the falling rocks into powder and scattering them with the wind. When Feng Tianhua saw that he could not gain the upper hand even after burning his quintessence, his expression turned terrifyingly sullen. Then, he placed his right hand on the sword at his waist. Elder brother Tianhua is going to draw his sword. That brat is finished for sure. That's right. Elder brother Tianhua's sword intent has reached 40% comprehension long ago. When he draws his sword, he will be able to defeat this person in 10 moves. This brat has to die. Even with Feng Tianming protecting him, it will not work. Feng Tianhua's cousins spoke in a few words. Clearly, they were frustrated with the sudden appearance of Xiaochen. Xiaochen drew his sword, and a surging sword intent spread out. The entire sword trembled continuously. In that instant, all the swordsmen felt their swords tremble uncontrollably. Feng Tianhua leaped up, and his gaze turned sinister. He focused his quintessence on his sword, combining it with his 60% comprehended sword intent to form a sharp sword light. The group of people all revealed joyful expressions. After defeating this brat, Feng Tianming would have another crime to bear. Chong! However, before these people could withdraw their smiles, the lunar shadow saber at Xiaochen's waist had already been drawn. The 60% comprehended saber intent, combined with the quintessence in his body, formed a dazzling purple saber light. Kasi. When the saber light and the sword light clashed, there was no chance at all. The sword light was like a piece of wood, breaking in half. When the light faded, only half of Feng Tianhua's sword remained. The other half shattered in the air, turning into a rain of swords that shot out in all directions, creating tiny cracks in space. When Xiao Chun swung his saber, he chopped the other party's sword in half, defeating his opponent miserably. Such strength not only rendered Feng Tianhua's group speechless, but it also shocked Feng Tianming to the point of gaping. This sword had followed Feng Tianhua for several decades. His mind was already connected to it. After the sword broke, he immediately vomited a large mouthful of blood. Feng Tianhua revealed an expression of disbelief on his pale face. He asked sullenly, "Who exactly are you? You are already about to die. Why ask so many questions?" Xiao Chun stomped on the ground and sent out a barrage of saber lights. Feng Tianhua, who did not have a weapon in hand, was reduced to a sorry state. Xiao Chun's saber intent enveloped Feng Tianhua's body. Based on his stance, he intended to kill Feng Tianhua, not even giving him a chance to flee. The expressions of Feng Tianhua's group immediately changed. They all soared into the air and charged at Xiao Chun, trying to save Feng Tianhua. However, these people were only half-step martial monarchs. After all, martial monarchs were not cabbages that could be found anywhere. The essence attacks could not break Xiao Chun's quintessence shield. There was no need to worry about them. All he needed to do was dodge some of the killing moves. After severely injuring Feng Tianhua with one saber strike, Xiao Chun turned his attention to the other minor characters. He executed the Thunder Shadow Chop, and after images flickered, Xiao Chun instantly sent out 7 saber strikes, knocking down the people who had been harassing him. All of them had pained expressions on their faces. Feng Tianhua and his group of people, who had come with surging auras, had all been defeated at Xiao Chun's hands. At this moment, they no longer had their earlier grandeur. No one dared to say anything. Yingyu watched as Xiao Chun sheathed his saber. A look of admiration flashed in her beautiful eyes. She said softly, "Mr. Feng, are you still unable to make up your mind? They have the Wan clan as their backer. You have the Great Qin Nation's royal court as well. The royal court will not sit idly by and watch as the Wan clan swallows up the Feng clan's businesses." Feng Tianming's heart turned cold. He knew that there was no room for negotiation. He instructed the 5 people behind him. "These people colluded with outsiders and are up to no good. Leave none alive. Kill them all." Xiao Chun ignored the 5 people who killed Feng Tianming. He walked straight to Feng Tianming and said, "Prepare the best warship. We should be able to rush back in 7 days." Feng Tianming shook his head and said, "A regular warship will not be able to reach the Great Jin Nation in 7 days. That one Feng will definitely be using the Bushin Palace's warship." Yingyu said, "Use our Imperial Dragon Legion's flagship, the Imperial Dragon. Although it cannot compare to the Bushin Palace's warship, if we plan the route well, we should be able to rush back in 5 days." Feng Tianming's eyes lit up. He quickly said, "Many thanks, Princess Yu." Yingyu smiled gently and said, "I cannot leave the Great Qin Nation. I will not be able to accompany you this time. I will lead people to support you at the border." On the surface, the Great Qin Nation's royal court could not afford to offend the Wan clan. Xiao Chun and Feng Tianming both understood this. Yingyu being able to send the Imperial Dragon Legion's flagship was already a great help. After Feng Tianming used his lightning-fast methods, the chaotic situation finally stabilized. As for the Elders' Assembly, Feng Tianming was no longer in the mood to convene it. Inside the Great Hall, Feng Tianming held a map as he discussed the route of travel with his 5 bodyguards. There was no way to travel in a straight line in the sky. For example, there would be many horrifying high-ranked flying spirit beasts blocking the way. In some places, there would be spatial storms. Anything that entered would be shredded to pieces. There were also places controlled by ancient clans. Without permission, one could not pass. Going by a regular trade route, even with the Imperial Dragon, it would take 7 days to travel from the Imperial capital to the Great Jin Nation's Wan clan's headquarters. Hence, Xiaochen had to choose a place that he normally avoided and forcefully break through to save time. Xiaochen placed the wooden box wrapped in black cloth on his back on the table. Then he sat at the side and closed his eyes to rest. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Xiaochen, we have already chosen the route. We intend to directly break through the Black Smoke Mountain range. That way we can save 2 days. Chapter 629. Feng Tianming walked over and said to Xiaochen. After seeing Xiaochen's strength, Feng Tianming could no longer ignore his strength. So he came over to seek his opinion. Xiaochen knew a little about the Black Smoke Mountain range. A rank 7 flying spirit beast, the Black Smoke Condor, rested at the highest peak of the mountain range. They were not high in rank, but there were many of them. Each time they moved, there would be at least 10,000 of them. Regular merchant groups would circle around the vast Black Smoke Mountain range, taking a long journey. Although it was time-consuming, it was safe. There are 3 places we can break in. We feel that the Black Smoke Condor is the easiest. The other 2 places are much more troublesome. Then, Feng Tianming explained the situation of the other 2 places to Xiaochen. Xiaochen felt that there was nothing wrong, so he agreed to make his breakthrough in the Black Smoke Mountain range. Feng Tianming glanced at the wooden box wrapped in black cloth. He felt somewhat curious, but he did not ask anything. An hour later, the enormous golden warship, Imperial Dragon, flew over. The few of them didn't waste any time and directly walked up to the bow. When the Imperial Dragon flew at full speed, it could reach Mach 7, much faster than a regular martial monarch. Furthermore, it did not need to stop to rest. It was perfect for traveling. Around the hull of the ship, there was a faint layer of protective shield, blocking the air outside. Feng Tianming stood on the warship's bow with an extremely grave expression. The Wan clan had a martial sage. If the other party was not willing to hand over Feng Feishue, they would be at their wits' end. Feng Feishue had not gone willingly. Without Feng Tianming and the others' help, Wan Feng would not have been able to bring her away. If Feng Tianming had killed this person earlier, things would not have been as difficult as they were now. Feng Tianming blamed himself. Xiaochen, what cultivation realm has your combat prowess reached? Now that things had reached this point, there was no point in overthinking it. Feng Tianming collected his thoughts and started chatting with Xiaochen. Xiaochen was only an inferior grade martial monarch. However, he had beaten the medial grade martial monarch, Feng Tianhua, to the point where he could not retaliate. Feng Tianming wanted to know Xiaochen's true strength. Based on the standards of the Sky Dome realm, a regular superior grade martial monarch would not be a match for me. As for the Kunlun realm's martial monarchs, I cannot say much about them. Xiaochen said directly, not hiding anything. Feng Tianming felt startled in his heart. Despite such shocking strength, Xiaochen spoke of it so casually. However, the other party no longer used the standards of the Sky Dome realm to measure him. Such a mentality was understandable. The spiritual energy in the Kunlun realm was several times denser than in the lower realms. Although they were both inferior grade martial monarchs, the Kunlun realm's martial monarchs had much more essence than the lower realm martial monarchs. There was even a rumor that the bottlenecks of cultivators in the Kunlun realm were even harder to break through than in the lower realms. However, once one succeeded in breaking through, the benefits of the body were not something that the lower realms could compare to. There were many more high-ranked cultivation techniques in the Kunlun realm than in the Sky Dome realm. The quality of martial monarchs was not something the lower realms could compare to. Along the way, the two did not run into any trouble. Soon the Black Smoke Mountain range appeared before their eyes. A long stretch of pitch-black clouds lingered in the sky above the many peaks. After the Imperial Dragon appeared, the dark clouds quickly drifted over. One would only notice them when they got close. The so-called dark clouds were actually formed from numerous black smoke eagles, and they covered the sky and blotted out the sun. Merely this impetus caused one's heart to palpitate without end. Feng Tianming said somewhat anxiously. The energy barrier will not be able to block all the black smoke condors. The beaks of those black smoke condors are extremely sharp. They can easily pierce through any metal. You and I need to kill all the black smoke condors that barge in quickly. Otherwise, the ship will be pecked through, and we will be forced to land. The situation was dire. Xiao Chen understood that the other party was not lying. He placed his right hand on his saber hilt, and waited quietly for the black smoke condors to attack. There were no royal clan members on the Imperial Dragon. Feng Tianming's 5 personal guards controlled the warship. They could only rely on Xiao Chen and Feng Tianming to defend it. Bang! 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 Black shadows covered the sky and covered the earth as they attacked. Everywhere they looked, they were all sturdy black smoke condors, their bodies emitting thick black gas. The black smoke condors' beaks were like iron hooks and their claws were even harder than frost iron. They continuously struck the Imperial Dragon's energy barrier. At this moment, the huge warship seemed as small as an ant. It swayed left and right, rocking continuously. Xiao Chen stood on the deck and closed his eyes, not moving at all. He only used his spiritual sense to scan every corner of the warship, not missing a single spot. Feng Tianming's expression turned even graver. If not for the fact that he was in a rush for 2 days, he would not have taken this risk. Caw. There was a crisp sound, and a small crack appeared in the energy barrier. Soon a hole appeared, and a black smoke condor let out a shrill cry as it entered. Xiao. However, before the black smoke condor could move, a saber light flashed, and the huge black smoke condor was chopped in half. When Feng Tianming saw Xiao Chen kill a black smoke condor at lightning speed, he calmed down. He leaped up and arrived before the hole. Then he placed his hands on the energy barrier. Xiao Chen's quintessence flowed out from his hands and quickly mended the hole. The warship's defensive formation provided the energy barrier. As long as the formation did not break, it could be mended in an instant. This was why Feng Tianming dared to choose this place as his breakthrough point. Caw. 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 A few more holes appeared, and 10 odd black smoke condors flew over from all directions. Their ferocious aura spread out. These black smoke condors were crafty. They did not clash head-on with Xiao Chen. Instead, they flew to the sides of the warship and the deck, trying to destroy it. Thunder Shadow Chop. Xiao Chen soared into the air, and a blue dragon image moved under his feet. He took 7 steps in the air, and killed a black smoke condor with 1 saber strike. Then the 7 afterimages merged. Xiao Chen swung his saber and instantly killed the remaining 3 black smoke condors, not giving them any chance to retaliate. Xiao Chen, do you need help? Feng Tianming asked as he mended the hole. Xiao Chen replied sullenly, there's no need. Just focus on mending the hole. The two split up the work. Xiao Chen was responsible for killing the black smoke condors while Feng Tianming focused on mending the hole. Under the intense fluctuations, the warship moved forward, wobbling. At the most dangerous moment, more than 100 holes appeared. Xiao Chen executed the Thunder Shadow Chop 5 times in a row. However, he still could not clear out all the black smoke condors in a short time. When a black smoke condor landed on the deck, it pecked ferociously with its long beak. A deep crack immediately appeared in the tough deck. At the critical moment, Xiao Chen used the purple thunder arrow and veritable flame to kill the black smoke condor, avoiding a calamity. After flying like this for 4 hours, the Imperial Dragon was 500 kilometers away from the Black Smoke Mountain range. Only then did the black smoke condors slowly leave. When the dark clouds scattered and they saw the sky again, the two heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. Feng Tianming said somewhat joyfully, fortunately, we managed to pass. The warship spirit stones are almost depleted. If we had held on for another 15 minutes, the energy barrier would have failed. The energy barrier around the warship had already dimmed significantly. Its defensive capabilities were at least 10 times weaker than before. Feng Tianming was not lying. Just at this moment, Xiao Chen suddenly frowned. He quickly said, there is danger. Quintessence, protect yourself. Feng Tianming's face sank. Although he was astonished, he still did as Xiao Chen said. Quintessence spread out from his entire body, forming a nearly solid light barrier. Bang, bang, bang. 10 dazzling beams of light shot out from 10 kilometers in front. In an instant, they struck the dimmed energy barrier, not giving the Imperial Dragon any chance to turn around. Boom. An intense explosion resounded, and the imperial dragon exploded in the air, turning into a clump of light. Countless fragments flew everywhere. Xiaochun and the others quickly fell to the ground. 10 warships stood in the distant sky. A person stood on the bow of the leading warship. As he looked at the imperial dragon, which had turned into a clump of light, he smiled faintly and said, "You can't even withstand a single blow. Let's go." The 10 ancient demonic energy cannons had exhausted a total of 10,000 superior-grade spirit stones. Even if the imperial dragon's energy barrier was intact, it would still be somewhat lacking. Now that the energy barrier was practically useless, it would be even worse. Xiaochun and Feng Tianming had used their quintessence to protect themselves in advance. Furthermore, the warship had blocked some of the shockwaves from the ancient demonic energy cannons. Hence, they did not suffer any serious injuries. Although the other 5 had not received any warning, they had been inside the warship. Hence, the shockwaves were much weaker, and their injuries were not that serious. However, now that the warship was destroyed, it would be impossible for them to rush back before Feng Feishue's wedding. After the group landed, Feng Tianming said hatefully, "The Wang clan's people are too ruthless. Unexpectedly, they ambushed us here in advance." With the warship destroyed, there was no way for them to rush back in advance. By the time the wedding was over, everything would be settled. What was done. No one would be able to salvage the situation. Xiaochun remained calm and collected as he glanced at Feng Tianming's bodyguard. Then he pulled off the strip of cloth covering his forehead and said, "Take my throne and rush over. Although it is slower than the Imperial Dragon's warship, it is still faster than a cultivator over a long distance." The explosive speed of a cultivator was faster than a regular warship. However, it was troublesome for a cultivator to replenish their quintessence. Traveling for a long time would not be as efficient as using a secret treasure. A light flickered, and a mysterious scarlet throne floated quietly on a clump of red clouds in front. Xiaochun took the lead and landed on the throne. He said calmly, "Come up quickly. If I use my full power, we should still be able to make it." Feng Tianming's group of 6 stood on the clump of red clouds in shock. Clearly, they found this secret treasure very miraculous. Xiao! A scarlet light flickered as Xiaochun operated the scarlet throne. It turned into a scarlet arrow high in the sky and quickly headed for the Great Jin nation. Feng Tianming smiled happily and said, "Xiaochun, it is fortunate that you have this move. Otherwise, we would have to return empty-handed." Xiaochun smiled faintly and did not deny it. Instead, he used his spiritual sense to observe the expressions of Feng Tianming's 5 bodyguards. After a while, Xiaochun withdrew his spiritual sense. He had a rough idea of what was going on. The headquarters of the Wan Clan's Merchant Association was an independent city in the Great Jin Nation called Wan Clan City. This city was several times larger than Mo City. 3 days later, the group arrived outside Wan Clan City. The city walls were filled with red lanterns. There was a festive atmosphere at the city gates. There was an endless stream of people coming and going. Haha. The wedding of the Wan clan's young master is really grand. I heard that the disciples of the 10 great sects and 8 noble clans are all rushing over to offer their congratulations. Chapter 630. That is natural. The Wan clan is as wealthy as a nation. The 10 great sects and 8 noble clans all have business dealings with them. Now that the Wan clan's young master is getting married, we have to give them some face. I heard that the bride is also a top-notch beauty. She is the female head of the Flying Snow Merchant Association. With this strong alliance, the Wan clan will become even stronger in the future. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go in quickly. Tomorrow is the official wedding. No matter what, we have to go and join in the fun. As Xiaochun, Feng Tianming, and the others stood not far from the city, they heard the discussions of the passers-by. Feng Tianming sighed and said, "At least we are not late. If we were 1 day late, we would not have been able to do anything." Xiaochun said calmly, "Let's enter the city and find a place to sit down first. During the wedding tomorrow, we just need to clarify things with the Wan clan's people." Xiaochun's group concealed themselves a little. After they handed over the wedding gifts, they successfully snuck in. Although it was deep into the night, the Wan clan city was brightly lit and bustling with activity. There were lanterns and colored banners everywhere, looking very festive. Xiaochen was in his room, cultivating with his eyes closed. Suddenly he opened his eyes and his lips curled up. He smiled faintly and said, "You finally revealed your tale." Using his spiritual sense, one of Feng Tianming's bodyguards sneakily opened the door and looked around to make sure no one was around. Unfolding his body, he quickly slipped out of the inn and flew out of the city. Xiaochen opened the window and left behind a strand of spiritual sense to follow. Then he followed from a distance. His gaze was cold and emotionless, and a faint killing intent spread out. Aside from Xiaochen and Feng Tianming, only the 5 bodyguards knew the route Xiaochen's group took to break through the Black Smoke Mountain range. Feng Tianming would not doubt this. Xiaochen, the trusted aide who had followed him for many years, would. There could not be such a coincidence in the world. Coincidentally, the Imperial Dragon warship's energy barrier was weakened to its limit, and it received 10 shots from the peak demonic energy cannons. There was definitely a traitor. After releasing the Scarlet Throne, Xiaochen had been observing the expressions of the 5 guards. The fluctuations in the expression of the guard called Heng did not escape his notice. As expected, Zhang Heng could no longer hold himself back the moment the group arrived at the Wan clan city. This person was extremely cautious. He seemed to have sensed that someone was following him, and he released his perception force several times to search the surroundings. He even set up a misleading formation to draw out Xiaochen. Unfortunately, Xiaochen's divine sense could track him from 5 kilometers away. With his perception, he couldn't detect Xiaochen at all. After a few fruitless attempts, Zhang Heng felt that he was being a little paranoid, so he began to rush at full speed. After a while, he arrived at a remote pavilion. In front of the pavilion, there were cultivators dressed in the attire of the Wan clan standing guard. Zhang Heng stepped forward and handed over a token, and the guards in front of the pavilion immediately let him in. The pavilion was heavily guarded, and it was obvious that it was an important place of the Wan clan. However, Xiaochen had his spiritual sense and did not need to barge in. He gently landed on a roof and followed Zhang Heng's line of sight to see the situation inside clearly. Zhang Heng arrived at a wing of the pavilion. 2 people had been waiting there for a long time. Xiaochen recognized one of them. This person was the welcoming envoy of the Bushan Palace, Wan Feng. The person beside Wan Feng was a handsome youth dressed in magnificent clothes with a decorative hat on his head. Compared to Wan Feng, this person was also a rare and elegant youth. However, he had a worldly air to him. In comparison, this person's aura was much weaker. From the conversation between the two, Xiaochen found out this person's identity. This person was called Wan Shan, and he was the one who married Feng Feixue. Wan Shan looked at Zhang Heng with some surprise. He said, "I received news that you were shot down near the Black Smoke Mountain range. How did you arrive at my Wan clan city so quickly?" Zhang Heng did not hide anything as he said, "Xiaochen has a strange throne secret treasure. It does not consume spiritual energy to fly, and it is extremely fast. Without that throne, Feng Tianming would not have been able to rush over." Wan Shan frowned slightly and asked, "The king-grade true dragon genius, the white-robed bladesman Xiaochen?" Zhang Heng nodded and said, "That's right, that's him. The Xiao clan seems to have a marriage agreement with the Feng clan's ancestor. So Feng Tianming invited him over. Here are 10,000 superior-grade spirit stones and a void-breaking pill. Tell me where they are staying, and you may leave." Wan Shan had not expected this matter to involve Xiaochen. He felt a headache coming on. He took out a spatial ring and tossed it to Zhang Heng before waving his hand. Zhang Heng had obtained the benefits that he wanted. He revealed an excited expression and withdrew in satisfaction. "Cousin, this Xiaochen is not easy to deal with. The last time Sima Lingxian advanced to martial monarch, he did not even last one move against him. I have no idea what his limits are." Wan Shan looked at Wan Feng and said, "Furthermore, it is probably not convenient for my great-grandfather to make a move. Xiaochen possesses the luck of the Sky Dome realm. If a martial sage makes a move against him, there will be dire consequences." Wan Feng smiled faintly and said, "How strong can a lower realm martial monarch be? You can rest assured and go hug your beauty. Leave the Xiaochen to me." Seeing that Wan Shan still seemed worried, Wan Feng said softly, "According to the Sky Dome realm, that Zhang Heng is a peak inferior grade martial monarch. I am also only an inferior grade martial monarch. However, I will not even use 10% of my strength to deal with him." Not even using 10% of my strength to deal with a peak inferior grade martial monarch? Wan Shan exclaimed, "Really?" Wan Feng withdrew his smile and said with a grave expression, "The Kunlun realm is a great realm that you cannot imagine. What does a martial monarch count for there? Don't worry. If Xiaochen comes to cause trouble, I will be the first to stop him. Remember to act quickly and swallow up the Feng clan as soon as possible. This time, I need to bring back 1 million superior grade spirit stones. There are too many people to bribe." Wan Shan nodded and said, "No problem. Given the wealth that the Feng clan has accumulated over 1,000 years, they will definitely be able to take out 1 million superior grade spirit stones." Up on the roof, Xiaochen withdrew his spiritual sense and revealed an expression of contemplation. It turned out that the Wan clan had already made up their mind to swallow up the Feng clan. The Wan clan probably had a special channel to send some of the resources they plundered to the upper realms Wan Feng. Otherwise, the Wan clan would not have risen so quickly. Xiaochen casually glanced around and found Zhang Heng. Then he smiled faintly and collected his thoughts. "Xiao." Under the full moon, Xiaochen gently moved. His white robes were like a specter in the night as he silently landed in front of Zhang Heng. "Young Master Xiao, why are you here?" Zhang Heng had obtained more than 10,000 superior grade spirit stones out of nowhere, and the void-breaking pill for breaking through his bottleneck. When Xiaochen saw Xiaochen suddenly appear, he was startled and exclaimed loudly. Xiaochen stared at the other party and did not say anything. He withdrew his killing intent and silently placed his right hand on his saber hilt. Zhang Heng felt guilty. When Xiaochen looked at him, he felt goosebumps. Under the huge mental pressure, he could not help but tremble. A deathly silence spread out in the surroundings. Xiaochen said calmly, "Break your meridians yourself. Don't force me to make a move." At this moment, Zhang Heng could already guess that his whereabouts had probably been exposed. At first, he wasn't just being paranoid. A ruthless look flashed in Zhang Heng's eyes as he suddenly attacked. His quintessence surged, and a fist wind tore through space, punching at Xiaochen. However, when Zhang Heng was about to attack, he suddenly changed his move and retreated. It turned out that this was just a feint to confuse Xiaochen and create an opportunity for him to escape back to the pavilion. Blue Dragon Tail Whip. However, reality was cruel and merciless. The fist wind only shattered the afterimage that Xiaochen left behind. As for Xiaochen, he moved in an arc and instantly attacked. Kasie. A resplendent purple saber light lit up the night. Zhang Heng cried out in pain as his right arm was chopped off. The explosive speed of the Blue Dragon Tail Whip was not something that Zhang Heng could dodge. When Zhang Heng attacked, he did not even have an opportunity to defend. Bang! Bang! Xiaochen sheathed his saber and punched with his right hand, shattering this person's dantian. Then he struck the back of this person's neck, knocking him out. Everything happened in an instant, as fast as a spark. Zhang Heng did not even feel the pain before he fainted. Casually carrying this person on his back, Xiaochen returned to the inn and tossed him into Feng Tianming's room. When Feng Tianming saw Zhang Heng's body, shock appeared on his face. He asked, "What's going on? Did you get ambushed?" Xiaochen told Feng Tianming everything he saw and heard. Then he took out 10,000 superior grade spirit stones and void-breaking pills from Zhang Heng's spatial ring. Ungrateful dog. With a witness and material evidence, Feng Tianming had no choice but to believe the facts before him. He immediately felt enraged and sent a palm strike at Zhang Heng. Xiaochen stopped him and said, "Keeping him alive is still useful. This place is no longer safe. We have to change places." Feng Tianming thought for a while and understood. He instructed the remaining 4 to carry Zhang Heng and quickly leave this place. 10 minutes after the group left, the Wan clan elders immediately led a large group of people to this place, surging with killing qi. However, they did not discover anyone, so they could not help but feel disappointed. We are too late. Continue searching. We absolutely cannot let them appear during the day, the elder leading the group said sullenly. If no one knew about it at night, they could still kill these people. However, killing the bride's father in front of the guests during the day would not work. Early the next morning, before the sky had even brightened, the entire One Clan city was already bustling with activity. There was an endless stream of people walking the streets. The drifting snow sword sex people are here as well. The top 10 of the True Dragon ranking, Lu Xiaoyan, is here as well. The 8 noble clans by Qi is here as well. The scions of the Qian clan and Wang clan are here as well. Sima Lingxian is here as well. The Haotian sex Yuchensi is here as well. Nearly all the 10 great sects and 8 great sects are here. The Wan clan's reputation is indeed great. On the second floor of an inn in the city, many cultivators gathered by the window. They looked at the people passing by below. When they saw these famous people, they would occasionally exclaim in surprise. Xiao Chun, who was in the inn, wore a conical bamboo hat as he looked at the crowd below. He felt it was strange as well. He had not expected the Wan clan to have such influence. Nearly all the famous sects and noble clans in the entire Great Jin nation had rushed over. Many of their scions were here as well. Feng Tianming, who was also wearing a conical bamboo hat, sighed softly. Originally, with the Wan clan's reputation, it would not be necessary for the 10 great sects and 8 noble clans to come personally. However, the welcoming envoy this time is actually related to the Wan clan. Chapter 631. For Wan Feng to be the welcoming envoy, he definitely had a significant background in the Kunlun realm. He was definitely not some random nobody. Everyone understood this point. By relying on Wan Feng's hard work in the Kunlun realm, the Wan clan would definitely prosper in the future. There would be no harm in establishing a good relationship with them. On the other hand, if they offended the Wan clan and their geniuses went to the Kunlun realm, they would definitely be suppressed by the faction behind Wan Feng. There would be no benefits at all. Under the conical bamboo hat, Xiao Chen's expression appeared extremely calm. After receiving a favor, he made a promise. Since he had already agreed, there was no turning back. If he did not agree to a promise, then he would do his best. The two slowly left the crowd and went to a private room of the inn. Then they quietly waited for news, not saying anything. After a while, one of Feng Tianming's personal guards carefully pushed open the door and entered. Feng Tianming, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately stood up and asked, "How is it? Did you find out anything?" "The wedding will be held in the Wan clan's castle. It will start at noon," that person answered respectfully. Feng Tianming pushed open the window and looked up at the sky. Then he said, "There is still an hour before it starts. Let's go. We have to explain everything to everyone before the wedding." The Wan clan's residence was heavily guarded, with countless experts. If they tried to barge in, not only would they have to pay a high price, but they might even endanger Feng Feishue's life. Last night, they discussed all night and decided to explain everything clearly in front of all the guests in the world. Given Feng Tianming's status and the bride's father, his words were the most persuasive. No matter how shameless the Wan clan's people were, they would not go to the extent of making a move in front of everyone. The Wan clan's castle was vast and majestic. With one glance, it looked like a small city. It occupied a large area and was heavily guarded. This was the core of the Wan clan's headquarters. When the group arrived before the castle, they removed their conical bamboo hats and followed the invited guests to the castle's entrance. "Halt! Who are you? Do you have an invitation? Without an invitation, you are not allowed to enter." The guard said coldly as he blocked Feng Tianming's group without any expression on his face. Feng Tianming took out his identity medallion to prove his identity. He said angrily, "What do you mean? I am the bride's father. Why do I need an invitation to enter?" The guards in front of them had obviously received instructions from their superiors and had no intention of letting them pass. A group of guards quietly surrounded them, using the human wall to cover their figures so that the other guests did not know what was happening here. On top of the wall, the Wan clan's family head, Wan Baolu, Wan Feng, and Wan Shan, looked coldly at Feng Tianming and the others below. Behind them stood 8 martial monarchs with high cultivations. They were expressionless and had withdrawn their murderous intent. These 8 people were the Wan clan's famous 8 great guardian deities. When they worked together, they could easily kill a peak martial monarch. Wan Feng smiled gently and said, "Uncle, go and greet the guests. Cousin, go and receive the bride. Leave this place to me. With me here, I guarantee that they won't be able to enter." Wan Baolu tactfully rejected the other party's request and said with a smile, "You worry too much, honorable nephew. There's no need for honorable nephew to do anything about guarding the door. 8 great guardian deities, all of you guard this place. If they want to barge in, just show them what you're made of." Wan Feng glanced at the 8 great guardian deities behind him, and did not say anything more. These 8 great guardian deities knew a combination technique. Even if they fought head-on, it would be difficult to deal with them. With these 8 people here, they would be able to keep Xiao Chun and the others at the door. At the very least, they would be able to last until the wedding was over. At that time, it would not matter whether the other party entered or not. The 3 chatted and laughed as they left, leaving only the 8 great guardian deities coldly staring at Xiao Chun and the others below. Xiao Chun raised his head and glanced at the castle, at Wan Feng and the others leaving. Then he projected his voice to Feng Tianming and said, "We can't get through here. Don't waste your time here." Feng Tianming felt very sullen. His daughter was getting married, and he, the father-in-law, was blocked outside, not even able to enter. Scram. Is the Wan clan a place where you can behave atrociously? I don't care what your status is. Without an invitation, you cannot enter. The leader of the guards did not even bother to look at Feng Tianming, directly chasing him away. This was the headquarters of the great Jin nation's Wan clan. In this place, the Wan clan was the king. With the orders of the clan head, these guards did not care about the 6 martial monarchs before them. Even if Xiao Chun barged in, he did not fear the other party. It was just 6 martial monarchs. All 36 martial monarchs of the Wan clan's branches had arrived long ago. Furthermore, there were also the 8 great guardian deities who did not leave the headquarters for long periods of time. Unless a martial sage came, it would be impossible to knock on the door. After receiving Xiao Chen's instructions, Feng Tianming was infuriated. However, he endured it and did not flare up on the spot. Instead, he led the group away. The leader of the 8 great guardian deities, Tuoba Yun, smiled coldly and said, "At least you are tactful. I have not truly stretched my limbs for many years." Someone at the side smiled and said, "The person in the middle seems to be the white-robed bladesman Xiao Chun, the King True Dragon ranked first on this True Dragon ranking." Tuoba Yun said in disdain, "A king-grade True Dragon? Wait until he matures. Now. Haha. If he dares to behave atrociously here, I do not mind teaching this little fellow a lesson." After Feng Tianming led the group far away, he could not help asking, "Xiao Chun, why did you call us out? The wedding is about to begin." After a moment of silence, Xiao Chun said, "The Wan clan's 8 great guardian deities are watching us from the top of the wall. They can't wait for us to make a move so that they can delay us here." When the group heard the name of the 8 great guardian deities, their expressions changed involuntarily. The 8 great guardian deities were very famous, and their methods were very sinister. The Wan clan's headquarters had been in closed-door cultivation for so many years, and the martial sages had not dared to do anything to them. All because of the ferocious reputation of the 8 great guardian deities. Even in the great Jin nation, where experts were as common as the clouds, the 8 great guardian deities were peak characters. When the 8 of them executed their joint martial techniques, they could even kill a peak martial monarch. What should we do? Could it be that we can only watch as they snatch Fei Xue away? Feng Tianming asked, feeling depressed. Xiao Chun said, "I have a 50% chance of dealing with the 8 great guardian deities. The more difficult one to deal with is that person called Wan Feng. However, that is not the main point for now. I'll go and see where else we can enter." The Wan clan's fortress occupied a vast area. Xiao Chun did not believe that any other place could maintain the same level of defense as the main gate. Xiaochen circled around the airtight fortress from a distance. He meticulously observed the defensive strength of the fortress's outer perimeter. He discovered that although the walls were vast, there were guards at every certain distance. The guards were made up of 10 martial saints and 1 martial king. They were all very strong. As long as there was any movement anywhere, they would be able to respond with a single call. The entire group of guards would quickly assemble, not giving the enemy any opportunity to attack. I can only kill them by force. I can kill 7 of them in an instant. Leave the other 3 to Feng Tianming and the others. It should not be a problem. After a while, Xiaochen had an idea. He called Feng Tianming and the others over to a wall at the back of the fortress. There are 11 guards. I will deal with 7 of them. As for the remaining 4, can each of you deal with 1? Xiaochen pointed to a pair of guards patrolling the wall and said, "Furthermore, you have to do it within 1 breath of time. We cannot startle the people in other places, or give them a chance to activate the alarms in their hands." Feng Tianming and the others were all martial monarchs. If they attacked suddenly, it would not be difficult to kill 4 people in an instant. On the other hand, Xiaochen wanted to kill 7 people in 1 move. This worried Feng Tianming. He asked, "Xiaochen, will you be fine?" "I'm fine. I am very confident." Feng Tianming did not say anything more. He said, "If you are all fine, then let's make our move on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Xiao." 5 figures soared into the sky, each of them pouncing on their opponents. They gathered quintessence in their hands, and with a bang, the opponents of Feng Tianming and the others fell silently. The horrifying nature of quintessence was not something the essence of these martial saints and martial kings could withstand. Feng Tianming turned his head to look, wanting to understand Xiaochen's situation. He wanted to see if he had made any mistakes so that he could salvage the situation. With Xiaochen's strength, there was no need to doubt that he could deal with 7 martial saints. However, Feng Tianming was still worried about silently dealing with his opponents in an instant. However, the instant Feng Tianming turned his head, he did not manage to catch Xiaochen's attack. He only saw 7 afterimages quickly merging together in the air. The many afterimages merged together. When Xiaochen sheathed the lunar shadow saber in his hand, it gave off a dreamlike feeling. The 7 Wang clan guards behind him all had a faint scar on their necks, and they slowly fell to the ground without a sound. Put on their clothes. It should be easier to sneak in later, Feng Tianming said after thinking for a while. The group changed into the clothes of the guards. Xiaochen used the purple flames to burn the corpses. After he destroyed the corpses, they jumped down together and officially entered this heavily guarded fortress. The moment they landed, they heard cheerful music. It sounded very festive. The place where the music came from must be where the wedding was taking place. Feng Tianming's face sank. Without saying anything, he quickly rushed over. Along the way, there were many bright red flower pots on both sides. With one glance, it looked very beautiful. There were many people coming and going in the fortress. It was clearly very busy. It looked like the Wan clan had put in a lot of effort for this wedding. Relying on the Wan clan guards' clothes, the group arrived safely at the place where the music came from. It was a huge plaza. The plaza was filled with neatly arranged wine tables. A rough count would give at least 1,000 tables. Those who could sit at these tables were all famous people of the great Jin nation. This was especially so for the ones at the front. All of them were honored guests of the 10 great sects and 8 noble clans. The entire place was filled with laughter. Amid the music, it was peaceful. The Wan clan's clan head, Wan Baolu, sat in the middle of the tall platform with a smile on his face. Occasionally, he toasted the people who came to congratulate him. Wan Feng sat beside Wan Baolu. He had a faint smile on his face. As Wan Feng looked at the people who came to congratulate him, there was a trace of mockery in his eyes. It seemed like he looked down on the people of the Sky Dome realm from the bottom of his heart. Old brother Wan, for your wedding this time, my Evil Moon Pavilion offers a 5,000-year-old heavenly mountain snow ginseng as a token of our sincerity. The Evil Moon Pavilion's vice pavilion master stood up and offered a brocade box. Wan Baolu smiled widely and said, "You are too polite. Anything will do." Chapter 632. This pair of moonlight treasured lotuses will be my Wang clan's congratulatory gift, the Wang clan elder of the 8 noble clans said as he stood up. Following that, the 10 major sects and 8 major clans stood up one by one and presented their gifts, although they were not particularly valuable. The 8 noble clans and 10 great sects were willing to give face to his Wang clan. This was something no other faction could do. Wan Baolu felt very pleased. He knew that this was all thanks to Wan Feng. If Wan Feng had not been the welcoming envoy, he would have made a name for himself in the Kunlun realm. He estimated that even half of the people from the 10 great sects and 8 noble clans would have come. When the Haotian sect's Yu Chenxi saw all this, her lips twitched. This Wang clan is really impressive. Isn't it just a welcoming envoy? Is there a need to praise him like this? The Haotian sect elder at the side quickly said. Chenxi, speak softly. That Wan Feng is not as simple as you think. He broke through to martial monarch in the Kunlun realm. He is even stronger than us old fellows. His talent is also stronger than that of a regular genius with luck. However, these are not important. The main thing is that his master, the extreme old man, is one of the martial sages with the highest chance of becoming Emperor Wu in the past 100 years. The extreme sect behind him is even stronger than our Haotian sect. Don't offend him now. Otherwise, when he returns to the Kunlun realm, you will gain a terrifying enemy for no reason. When Yu Chenxi heard this, she did not say anything more. Just at this moment, Wan Feng looked over with a strange expression, as if he had heard the conversation between the two. Immediately, Yu Chenxi felt a huge pressure. She had just broken through to martial monarch 7 days ago. Her cultivation now rivaled that of several of the elders in her sect. However, under the pressure of Wan Feng's gaze, her aura could not resist much. Even the circulation of her quintessence became very difficult. When the elder at the side saw this, he quickly released his aura to bear this pressure. Wan Feng smiled disdainfully and withdrew his aura. He picked up his wine cup and slowly took a sip. He muttered to himself, "Someone who is not even in the top 3 of the lower realms dares to gossip about me?" However, she did look pretty good. Xiaochen wondered if she was still a virgin. If she was when he went to the Kunlun realm, he could use her as a cultivation cauldron for his senior brothers. Yu Chenxi felt a lingering fear in his heart. The other party's gaze contained an extremely cold aura. Coupled with the pressure of his aura, his entire body was bone-chilling, and he felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. Are the geniuses of the Kunlun realm all this strong? A random inferior grade martial monarch actually makes me feel like I have no chance of victory. The Haotian sect elder at the side consoled. Don't underestimate yourself. He is only so strong because he went to the Kunlun realm a few years earlier than you. His accumulations are deeper than yours, and his talent is not much stronger than yours. As long as you work hard, you will catch up to him sooner or later. Yu Chenxi nodded and said, I wonder what kind of great realm the Kunlun realm is. Although the clash of auras between Wan Feng and Yu Chenxi was short and did not cause a large commotion, Bai Qi, Lu Xiaoyan, Gong Yangyu, Nangong Ziyue, and the others, who were seated in front, saw it clearly. The shock in their hearts was no less than Yu Chenxi's. From the end of the 5-nation youth competition until now, these people had used their luck to break through to martial monarch. When they saw that the older generation experts of their sex were not as strong as them, they all felt proud and satisfied with their own strength. However, when they saw Wan Feng's strength, it was like a bucket of cold water had been poured over them. Bai Qi muttered, This fellow is already so terrifying even before he makes a move. If he makes a move, how horrifying will his strength be? Gong Yangyu, who was not far away, thought even further. Wan Feng's talent was not the most outstanding in the Kunlun realm, yet he could easily suppress everyone. If that was the case, when they went to the Kunlun realm, the glory of the past geniuses would immediately vanish, like an unremarkable drop of rain falling into the vast ocean. Gong Yangyu clenched his fist tightly and said to himself, However, even so, I still have to go to the Kunlun realm. I would rather be the tail of a phoenix than the head of a chicken. I will do my best to catch up in this great age. Old brother Wan, isn't it time to invite the newcomers up? It has been so long already. Someone at the table said to Wan Baolu with a smile. Wan Baolu raised his head and looked at the time. Then he smiled faintly and said, "The auspicious hour is almost here. It is time to come out. Ming, invite the two newcomers up." A group of pretty maids immediately appeared behind them. Amidst the ceremonial music they brought in Wan Feng, who was dressed in long red robes, and Feng Feishue, who was wearing a red veil. Feng Feishue's footsteps were very unnatural, like she was under some kind of restriction. However, with the support of the maidservants, she still walked forward step by step. With the appearance of the two newcomers, the atmosphere of the place immediately reached a climax. All sorts of praises for them, like they were a perfect match made in heaven and earth. Wan Baolo's face flushed red, feeling very carefree in his heart. Marrying Feng Feishue would be equivalent to obtaining half of the Feng clan's assets. As long as Feng Tianming died, Wan Shan would be able to become the Feng clan's son-in-law and take over the entire Feng clan's business. Wan Baolu raised his head and looked at the sky. Then he stood up and smiled. The auspicious hour is here. After bowing to heaven and earth, the Feng clan's young miss will officially enter my Wan clan. The noise at the scene gradually quieted down. Everyone's eyes were focused on the two newlyweds. After 3 bows, they would be officially married. Suddenly, an extremely abrupt voice rang out in the quiet place. "You still cannot bow to heaven and earth." The plaza immediately turned even quieter. Tens of thousands of people turned their heads to look at the same time. Unexpectedly, someone dared to interrupt the Wan clan's wedding at this moment. This person was truly reckless. Xiao Chun and the others removed their Wan clan guard uniforms and walked through the empty space between the tables. They looked at Wan Baolu and the others without any fear. "It's him, the white-robed bladesman Xiao Chun. Why is he here? Is this fellow seeking death?" The Wan clan has many experts. Even if he is a king-grade true dragon genius, he has not truly matured yet. He cannot possibly deal with the Wan clan. That's not right. The person beside him seems to be the Feng clan's clan head, Feng Tianming. What are these people doing here? Strange. Father-in-law's face looks frighteningly pale. What's going on? When the 6 saw Feng Tianming's figure, they all felt that the situation was strange. Something might have happened to this wedding. This group of fellows still managed to rush over. Wan Shan said with a sullen expression as he clenched his right fist. "Are the 8 great guardian deities trash?" The crafty Wan Baolu was much calmer. He waved his hand and said softly, "Don't get anxious. They might have come from somewhere else. However, it does not matter whether they came or not. The result cannot be changed." After saying that, Wan Feng waved his hand again, signaling one of his subordinates to call the 8 great guardian deities back. Wan Feng's expression did not change. He stared at Xiao Chun and revealed a faint smile on his handsome face. Wan Feng muttered to himself, "A king-grade true dragon genius. This is an opportunity." Among the same generation, a king-grade true dragon genius absolutely could not be defeated. Once defeated, he would immediately become an ordinary true dragon genius, as the path of a king did not permit failure. If I can defeat him here, when his luck in the Sky Dome realm is at its most horrifying, I might be able to steal some of his luck. Thinking of this, Wan Feng's eyes lit up. An intense intent to plunder appeared in his sullen eyes. "The one with the surname Wan. Are you not even letting me in for my daughter's wedding?" Feng Tianming stepped forward and immediately shouted angrily at Wan Baolu. He had been suppressing the rage in his heart for too long. Now that it erupted, he did not show any courtesy to Wan Baolu. The moment Feng Tianming said that, the guests burst into an uproar. What was going on with this wedding? Even the father-in-law was not allowed to enter. Wan Baolu smiled calmly and said, "How can that be? There must be some misunderstanding. Someone, prepare a seat of honor for the in-laws." Feng Tianming shouted coldly, "Wan Baolu, don't play this game with me. My daughter never agreed to marry your son. For years ago, the 2 clans only discussed the matter. You took advantage of me leaving the Feng clan to kidnap my daughter. I do not blame you today. However, don't stop me from taking Feishue away. That can't be. The Wan clan is actually forcefully snatching someone else's daughter. That is too despicable. No wonder this wedding felt strange from the start. I did not see a single member of the bride's family. The expressions of the crowd as they looked at Wan Baolu immediately changed. They had not expected such a thing to happen. Wan Baolu's expression did not change. He smiled gently and said, "Why do you say that? My Wan clan has already given you the betrothal gifts. Your big brother has also signed for them on your behalf. There is proof here." With a flip of his hand, Wan Baolu took out a stack of betrothal gifts. Feng Tianhua's signature and handprint were on them. They were genuine. After Wan Baolu showed the betrothal gifts to the guests, he suddenly stood up. Unperturbed, he enunciated every word clearly. "Brother Feng, if you want to be friendly, sit down and drink the wedding wine. In the future, our clans will be in-laws. If you want to break off the engagement and slap my Wan clan's face in front of everyone, you can forget about leaving this Wan clan today. Don't even think of leaving the Wan clan castle today. My Wan clan isn't a place that anyone can fool." Right after Wan Baolu spoke, the 36 martial monarchs of the Wan clan's branches suddenly stood up. A strong killing intent surged towards Feng Tianming's group of 3. The combined killing chi of the 36 peak inferior grade martial monarchs was incredibly horrifying. Combined with Wan Baolu's sinister words, their auras immediately suppressed Feng Tianming. Feng Tianming immediately felt the pressure on him increase. He could not say many things he wanted to say. The sudden change in the situation confused the surrounding guests. They did not know what was going on. Wan Baolu looked coldly at Feng Tianming, revealing deep disdain in his eyes. "You want to play with me? Why don't you look at where you are?" After waking Zhang Heng, who was on his shoulder, up, Xiaochen casually tossed him aside and placed the scabbard on his back. Then he said calmly, "Tell me everything you know in detail." Zhang Heng had seen Xiaochen's methods before, so he did not dare to disobey. He said in a trembling voice, "The Wan clan bribed Feng Tianhua long ago. The Wan clan promised to help him obtain the position of clan head, which is why he signed. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.